You have to have a foundation. You have to have like a basic fundamental script, bullet point, something you're going to use to actually get from point A to point B with your customer, right? You can't just freeball it. It's not going to work most of the time. But once you get all the words down, that's great. But then how can you internalize it and have conviction in what you're saying? I mean, we're taught this all the time, right? Like if you just go into a demo and you're just reading the manual, but you have no conviction in what you're doing. You guys have literally all been managers before. You guys know those reps when they're role playing and training, you can tell when they're role playing if they're probably going to be good or not their first weekend. Like, all right, they're reading the manual, but they really don't, they seem really bored. Like, come on, picks up enthusiasm, excitement, be excited about Cutco. And you even notice sometimes those reps who maybe aren't the greatest at following the manual, but they're so damn excited all the time that they tend to just get lots of orders. But they have a small average orders because they're really excited, but maybe they don't have like the fundamentals down. So the goal is that can you memorize the foundation? Can you internalize it to where you believe in it so that way your customers feel that? And then the last part is to personalize it, which Sean is great at this, probably one of the best in the business at this stuff, is being really personal with customers and really good at hitting the main points. So that way he doesn't come off like he's selling something, you know? The best salespeople are the ones that are selling to you and you don't realize it. It takes time and experience. Most people are not good at it right off the get-go, by the way. I definitely wasn't good right off the get-go. But the idea is I just want to make sure you guys understand, like when you go into this meeting today and in June, July, and so on and so forth, over the next 3 meetings this summer before August comes back around, I really want you to be tough on yourself and really focus on every single guest speaker, every single topic we go over. I want you guys to really focus on what you need to be better at, because I'm telling you guys, if you can crush it this summer with your events and your service calls, you guys know how big the fall is. You guys even know how big December is with the malls and everything. Imagine whatever you sold last December. Say you sold 20 grand at the mall or something. What if you could have just been better and just sold 40 grand? Working the same days, by the way, working the same customers. Gosh, that'd be even more exciting of a month. So I just want to make sure you guys understand. I know it's May right now. You got to start looking towards the fall and the malls at the end of the year. Everything you do over the next 3 months builds to that process. Cool. So we're gonna have a good little get together this summer. It's gonna be real personal. I know for you guys that are out of the area, not in Austin, we're gonna miss you whenever we're doing our barbecue and meat and stuff like that as well. But I just want to make sure that all of you guys know, whether you're here or not here locally, that's what you need to focus on for the next 3 months. Sound good? So I got those 2 badass guest speakers gonna have to come up here in a second. Colleen's gonna give you another layer deep on really diving deep into your approaches. And then shortly after that, I'm gonna have Sean Henry do something a little bit different that I thought was pretty interesting. Was instead of having him come up and just talk to you guys, we're gonna have a guest speaker who's gonna have the talk with you guys, have you guys role play a little bit, get some structure in there. And I'm actually afterwards gonna sit down with Sean and actually have a list of interview questions that I thought would be really interesting. Like basically if I was in y'all's position, like 7, 8 years ago or so, what are the things that I would want to ask a CSP at his caliber to ask him? So we don't get Sean every day. You guys literally get Sean once a year. And so I want to make sure we make the most out of it. And so I want to make sure we know, like, that's our main things for today. Speakers, full schedule, and then just have raising our expectations for the next few months. Sound good? I want you guys to go into the weekends, like, don't put pressure on yourself. I know it's going to sound contradictory, but the main way that you saw a lot of Cutco is by not being tough on yourself. It's okay to have high standards, but please don't try to perfect everything right off the get-go. Okay. I like to go into, I've noticed I've started selling more when I go into there, just going in there being like, I'm literally just gonna smile and just give my best to every person, and what happens, happens, and hopefully I break a record. That's literally how it goes. And it's been working good so far. So I always have my rough estimates for the year, but I would recommend the same to you guys. When you go into your shifts, obviously you're gonna have good averages, you can work on stuff fundamentally, but don't be mentally too hard on yourself. Go in there, have fun, treat this meeting the same way. Just have fun and learn something. So cool. All right, guys. So with that being said, I'm actually gonna have Colleen come up here first. I know most of you guys know Colleen, but some of you guys out of town may not know her very well. Colleen moved down from Minnesota, from Canada basically. And so the moved down from Minnesota, don't you know? Yeah, that's insane. And so she moved down, closed her district office, because I think most of you guys don't know Colleen quite yet. But she moved down from Minnesota, had a district office, closed it, moved down to Austin, just called us out of the blue, being like, hey, I think I'm making a move. she ended up making the move, and she just like hit the ground freaking running. And so closed her office, and hopefully she's okay with me sharing this. When you close an office, usually it's not the most fun, exciting time on a financial level. And she was able to flip her entire finances back to like super sexy status again, just because she busted butt for a couple of months. I met with her at a Jason's Deli. I'll always remember this. We met down and just wanted to talk to her about what her goals were and everything. And she said she wanted to be on key events, become a CSP. And I was like, cool. Well, our cycle ends in 2 months. Our standards last year were 40 grand every 4 months. She's like, I'm pretty confident I can hit it, but I don't know about getting the booth and everything like that. And I was like, that's all you're worried about? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, if you sell the 40 grand, we'll figure out the booth situation. All right, we'll do something to help you pay back over time. And she's like, all right, bet, let's go. Let's get them. Is that what kids say now? Bet. And so she ended up going ham. She sold 40 grand in 2 months, and she hasn't looked back ever since. And so definitely one of our best like up and coming CSPs, and this girl can sell some freaking knives. And she's worked with some of the best people in the business, with Seth, Berg, Clovey, and some of these other people that you guys will hopefully meet at some point. But anyways, she's going to give you guys a quick message. Please write down questions for her at the end. So you guys also only get Colleen once a year at this point. So let's make sure to make the most of it while we have a small group. Sound good? Cool. All right, guys, let's give her a little round of applause. Make sure
really fast, whoever has an iPhone, you see your airdrop on, I'm just going to send you 2 little things really quick. And then
make sure to speak up for them too.
Yeah, can someone send it to them? I texted both of you guys that.
And if we need to, we can post it on the group.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's great. But I'll just send this anyways to you guys here. They're just 2 little snippets, and I'll get to them as we are going. But yeah, let's talk about some just kind of advanced demo stuff. And when it comes to like Dante was saying, like peeling back the layers in your demo, there's so many little things that you can do that really add to the demo experience. I'm going to keep it really basic and talk about really 3 things specifically that I think have really helped me not only increase my average order size, but really increase my shift average. Because since I started doing these little things, can you guys give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Okay, great, perfect. Since I started doing these little things, my shift average has gone up. I know, I shouldn't say I know for sure, but I feel really confident when I go into a shift that I'm gonna sell a bigger set. It doesn't happen, it doesn't happen for, I don't think anyone every single time that they work a shift, but I feel more confident now with these little things that I've been doing that I've learned over the last 2 months. So if you guys are taking notes, you want to write down just power intro. Power intro. Talk about what it is. You've heard this before, and then I'll actually go over the script with you. I think Cassie or Dante's going to put it in the group me, or you got it from.
And put it in both, Cassie.
Perfect. What this is basically the very simple version. It's like the minute and a half, not even a minute and a half. It's probably like 30 to 60 seconds at the beginning of your demo, where you're like low key hyping yourself up, right? Like you're telling the customer, hey, I'm awesome, right? Here's what I do. Here's how long I've been working for Cutco, and here's why you should buy from me. You're not saying that directly, but that's the message that they're getting when you're saying this. By show of hands, does anyone here already do a power intro in their demo?
Yes.
Marco, Dante, not surprised that, I'm sure this is not the only reason, no way, but not surprising Marco had a $30,000 order. Okay, let me ask you this. Who, when you were either doing demos, or if you're still doing demos or service calls or whatever, in your service calls, who's doing the power intro? Where you're talking about yourself? More people, right? So my question would be is like, why wouldn't we be doing it at the booth? Right? And usually the answer is like, well, we don't have as much time, right? Like I'm trying to get through things fast. I don't have as much time with the customer. And I would say, try to scratch that belief. It doesn't have to be that fast, or it doesn't have to be that long, I should say. It can literally be 30 to 60 seconds of you building credibility in yourself, right? And by the way, I didn't do this until late January, right? So I haven't always been doing this. Like I literally adopted this 2.5 months ago. And then my first show back at like 2 weeks afterwards, 2 weeks after adopting this specifically, and one other thing that I'm going to talk about, I think my first show back, I sold just over $10,000 on 11 orders. And then the show after that, I sold, I think, $9,500 on like 12 orders, right? So this was such a big thing where I was like, where people were like buying from me and buying from me in a big way, right? Like they were not scared to spend thousands of dollars with me at the booth in, 10 to 20 minutes, let's say. So, if you wanna open up that power intro, it's the second one, the shorter one. Gonna open that up, I'm gonna read it. Like me, also I like being able to see it. So give me a thumbs up if you see that one, the shorter version, or the shorter one, where it says is, thumbs up if you see that in the group me. Yeah, Hunter's got it, okay, cool. Okay, so I'm just gonna read it, so follow along with me. So it says, Colleen, insert your name, don't say my name. My name is Colleen, I've been Cutco for 5 years, and I work directly with our factory. And they bring me here to make sure our clients get our best service, which is our concierge service, and to make sure that our clients get our best package pricing on our complete line of kitchen products. And Cutco as a company has been around since the 40s, and everything with a cutting edge is 100% American made, which we take a lot of pride in. We've also been rated the world's sharpest knives in the world for decades, so long now that the History Channel came out and did a modern Marvel special on us, and Consumers Digest also rates us the best buy on knives. Plus, everything you see here, our knives, cookware, flatware, gadgets, accessories, and everything else has a forever guarantee. Here, let's do some cutting. Okay, now I know the second half of that is probably really similar to what you might already be saying, right, in the intro to the company. And by the way, I didn't create this. This is Josh Muller's. I got his okay to share this today. So you're getting a little extra
Thank you, Josh.
value from him. Yeah, thank Josh. But what does this do? Who can tell me, like, I know it might sound really simple, but like, if you're the customer, what is this doing for you in the moment? Like, why would you be saying this?
It tells you what it is that you're selling.
Yeah.
History behind it and why they should say no.
Yeah. Why? Yeah. In other words, it builds credibility. Builds credibility in the company, and especially builds credibility in you, right? So I remember the first time that I heard this, I was like, okay, like I don't work with the factory, right? Like I don't fly to Only in, like, but we do work with the factory, right? You are a direct sales representative for Cutco, right? You work directly with the factory. You help place orders for the factory that goes straight to the customer store. And Cutco is sending you to all of your shows, right? Like, I'm sure you guys know this at this point, but when Cassie and Dante help book our shows, it actually goes through Cutco, right? So Cutco really is sending you to your shows. So have confidence in the fact that, like, yeah, you are a factory representative. You've been working for 5 years, and they bring you to your shows to make sure that you're getting the best service and the best package pricing, right? Everyone registered their cars.
You didn't get the pool? Yeah, register your car. Can someone text in the link for the registration of the past 2 cars? Like I can't. Gotcha, go do that, because they will get you. I realized I didn't check that. Yes.
No biggie. So biggest thing, guys, is that this just builds credibility, right? Term like keep it really simple. You've heard the term like bandwagon before. Like there's a reason why bandwagon exists, right? People like cheering for like the top dog or the person that or the team that has like a lot of credibility. That's what you're doing here. That's it. Is you're building credibility in you're building credibility in Cutco. And by the way, when in the script it says like to get our best service, which is our concierge service. If someone asks what that is, I know sometimes you can hear that in a script and be like, well, what does that mean? I'm not a concierge, right? What does that even mean? Usually it doesn't really matter because they rarely ever ask. But if they do ask, what I say is, oh yeah, it just means that I stay in touch with you and I handle your sharpening when you need it. Right? Because that's what you do as a sales rep, right? And by the way, if you're selling Cutco and you're working at events and you are trying to build credibility, you should do that. Doesn't mean that you have to sharpen them in person. Doesn't mean that you have to do an in-home service call for every person. But if you're offering that service and you really are trying to build your business, right, and build credibility in you, you should be offering that. Hey, I'll help handle your sharpening when you need it. Even if that means just sending them factory instructions when they're ready for sharpening. But by the way, I said this before, this script came from Josh Muller. He also got a lot of this from Curtis, so I have to give credit where it's due. Curtis JQs, I'm sure a lot of you know him. And I really do believe that this is not the reason, but a big reason why Curtis has so many customers that will only buy from Curtis. Like I've met customers in Minnesota that is not close to where Curtis sells that are like, oh yeah, Curtis is our guy. He's like the #1 guy in Cutco. And they've met him one time, right? He sends them email marketing, right? I'm sure he sends them texts and stuff like that, but they've probably met him once, maybe twice, and they know that he's the best and buy from him. right? Because he's building so much value in him and the experience of buying them, right? So the power hunter. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna pair up and we're gonna practice this. So this little snippet here, if you can just get with someone next to you, or I don't know if you guys want to go, if you want to call each other.
Yeah, Cassie, can you coordinate with those Zoom people?
And the reason we're doing this, guys, I know it might sound really like tedious, and like it's not a big deal, but if you're like me, if I get like a new script or something to add and I don't use it right away, the likelihood that I'm gonna pick it up again and do it on my own is really slim. So simply saying it a couple of times in person, I know is probably might seem like, oh, why do we have to do this? But it actually will make a difference for you getting it out, speaking the words and saying it down there. Okay, so why don't we do this like 2 or 3 times each? And then, yeah.
Cool.
So.
Let's go. All right, Caitlin, I'll take it until Marco gets here.
Okay. Let's let him start first.
He's starting.
Okay, I can do it with him when he gets back, or if he gets going.
Yeah, no, he said. All right, Caitlin, hit me.
Okay. Well, my name is Caitlin, and I've been with Cutco for years now, and I work directly with their factory, and they bring me here to make sure our clients get our best service, which is our concierge service, and to make sure our clients get our best package pricing on all of our complete line. Cutco as a company has been around since the 40s, and everything with the cutting edge is American.
Gary, if you can hear me, can you drop a note in the chat?
We've also been rated the world's sharpest knives over the last 6 decades.
Just go like.
So long now that the Street Trail came out with modern marbles special on us, and Consumers Digest now rates us the best buy.
Shit, I got 23 minutes.
Plus, everything that you see here are knives, just like flour, everything else has forever guaranteed. So here, let's do some cutting. That's good. I need to probably, I just like copy pasted this or this image, so I'll probably rewrite it out myself too. So I can like.
Very cool. Well, just so you know, my name is Dante. I've actually been with Cutco for 13 years. I actually work directly with the factory, and they actually bring me here to make sure our clients get our best service, which is our concierge service, and to make sure our clients get some of our best package pricing on all of our complete line of kitchen products. Cutco as a company has been around since the 40s. Everything with the cutting edge is 100% American made, which we take a lot of pride in. We've also been rated the world's sharpest knives in the world for decades. So long now that the History Channel actually came out and did a modern marble special on us, and Consumers Digest also rated the best buy on knives. Plus, everything you see here, our knives, cookware, flatware, gadgets, accessories, everything else has a forever guarantee. Let me do some cutting with it.
You're really tan, by the way, Dante.
Oh, I am?
Yeah.
I was
Okay, you wanna?
Yeah.
So, you wanna go first? I did it once.
And make sure that our clients get our best package.
Yes, here they all.
You congrats, by the way, on your massive scale. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nicole.
So, do you wanna go?
Talk to Nicole.
Oh, you go. I was
Yeah. Well,
I wanna make sure
my name is
that-
Marco, I've been with Cutco for a little over 2 years now. I work directly with our factory, and they bring me here to make sure
So
our clients
she needs to
get
have
our
her
best
cover.
service, it's actually our
She needs to
concierge
be
service.
engaged, she needs to be
And to make sure
So if you
our customers
can-
get our best package pricing on all our complete line of kitchen products. And Cutco as a company has been around since the 40s, and everything with the cutting edge is 100% American made, which we take a lot of pride in. We've also been rated the world's sharpest knife in the world for decades, so long now that the History Channel came out and did a modern marble special on us. And Consumers Digest also rates us the best buy on knives. Plus, everything you see here, our knives, cookware, flatware, gadgets, accessories, and everything else has a forever guarantee. So here, let's do some cutting.
Well, my name is Caitlin, and I've been with Cutco for almost 3 years, and I actually work directly with our factory, and they bring me here to make sure our clients get our best service, which is our concierge service, and to make sure our clients get our best package pricing on all our complete line. Everything with the cutting edge is 100% American made, which we take a lot of pride in. We've also been rated the world's sharpest knives for decades, so long now that the History Channel came out and did a modern marbles special on us, and Consumers Digest also rates us the best buy on knives. Plus, everything that you see here on knives, cookware, flatware, gadgets, accessories, and everything else has a forever guarantee. So let's do some
Definitely
studies.
changing to this.
Plus, everything you see here are knives, cookware.
Well, my name is Marco, and I've been with Cutco for 2 years now. I work directly with our factory, and they bring me here to make sure our clients get the best service, which is actually our concierge service, and to make sure our clients get our best package pricing on all our complete line of kitchen products. And Cutco as a company has been around since the 40s, and everything with the cutting edge is 100% American made, which is we take a lot of pride in. We've also been rated the world's sharpest knives in the world for decades. So long now that the History Channel came out and did a modern marvel special on us, and Consumers Digest also rates us the best buy on knives.
Yes, I think it was-
Plus, everything you see here are knives, cookware, flatware,
Eduardo, yeah,
gadgets,
is after
accessories,
this close.
everything else has a forever guarantee. So here, let's do some cutting.
Well, my name is Caitlin, and I've been with Cutco
Can you
for
update
about 20
Eduardo?
years now. I work directly with our factory and they bring me here to make sure our clients get our best service, which is our concierge service. And to make sure our clients get our best package pricing on all of our kitchen products. Cutco as a company has been around since the 40s, and everything with the cutting edge is 100% American made, which has a lot of pride in. We've also been rated the world's sharpest knife in the world for decades. So long now that the History Channel actually came out and did a modern marvel special on us, and Consumers Digest also rates us a best to buy on knives. Plus, everything you see here are knives, cookware, flatware, gadgets, and accessories, and everything else has a forever guarantee. Here, let's do some cutting.
Still going.
I just did 3 tests.
Okay.
Well, my name is Marco, and I've been with Cutco for 2 years now. I work directly with our factory, and they bring me here to make sure our clients get our best service, which is our concierge service, and to make sure our clients get our best package pricing on all our complete line of kitchen products. And Cutco as a company has been around since the 40s, and everything with the cutting edge is 100% American made, which we take a lot of pride in. We've been rated the world's sharpest knives in the world for decades. So long now that the History Channel came out and did a modern marvel special on us, and Consumers Digest also rates us the best buy on knives. Plus, everything you see here are knives, cookware, flatware, gadgets, accessories, and everything else has a forever guarantee. Here, let's do some cutting.
Fab. All right, I'm gonna cut you guys off. If you're done, and hopefully you guys are done or close to done, we're gonna keep moving. But I didn't hear the way you sounded, but you looked great saying it, so keep doing that. All right, let's roll. Let's keep moving. Okay.
So you, I'm gonna do it first.
Cool. So what I would say, guys, is like I mentioned before, like unless you've actually done it or said it in like a group setting, if you're like me, I just know that I won't pick it up again. So don't let this be, now that you have said it out loud, don't let this be the only time that you actually do it. Practice it, spend the time to work it into your script, and you should know it front to back, right? That way you feel really confident when you're actually saying it in front of a customer. Okay, next thing, you want to write down just bigger sets. Selling bigger sets. In my opinion, this is really one of the most impactful things on increasing your average order and your shift average. Think about it this way, like I kind of said this before, but imagine if you went into every shift knowing, at least feeling confident that you were going to sell a quote unquote bigger set, right? A homemaker's signature ultimate set. And I hope the homemaker at this point, like I hope as you continue to grow your business, the homemaker isn't even considered a bigger set for you. But when we talk about compared to all the smaller things that we sell, we'll talk about those 3 being the bigger set. So like I said, it is such an easy way for you to add to your shift average. Imagine knowing that no matter what, you're at least going to sell $1,200 to $3,000 like that, on top of all the other small orders that add up, right? It just makes you feel more confident about your day, and then you're not stressed during every single interaction that you're having with a customer. We've all had that feeling, right? Where you're like, it's like you started at 8 a.m. and it's like 3, 4 o'clock, you've got a couple hours left, and you're like, shit, I have like not sold anything. And you're stressing, and then you have dollar signs in your eyes every time a customer walks up to you, right? We know that to be the case. I've done that many times, and I'm sure I still will, but it just helps a lot if you have more confidence in how you talk about the bigger sets and just knowing that you're able to sell those. Okay, so the first thing you should really recognize, and then I'm going to actually go over another little script with you guys, but the first thing you should, I would say, start to recognize is just the language you have surrounding the bigger sets. So specifically the ultimate set, right? If you're talking about the ultimate set as being this like big, huge set that has so many knives and like, oh, you wouldn't even know what to do with them. And man, if you like, hardly anyone starts with this one. That, oh my gosh, you would need that. Like, I'm being really dramatic here for a reason. Hopefully you guys are not doing that. I know you're probably not saying that to a customer, but the point is like, if that's the message that the customer is getting from you through the, like between the lines, there's zero chance that they're going to sell or that they're going to buy the ultimate set, right? So how you're talking about the sets really make a big difference. And not to mention too, like you might not be that dramatic in how you're talking about the sets, but your tonality around the sets and what you're actually like the body language you're giving off when you're talking about the sets really matters. So my suggestion, this is just like a little side note. If I was you, I would somehow, the next time you're working a show, when you're talking about the 3 sets, I would like set your phone up and actually record yourself, not just in audio, but a video, right? Get your face in it so you can actually see how your face, like what the facial expressions you're having when you're talking about the bigger sets. Because you might have this little thing like that you, when you're talking about the ultimate set, you might have this little like twitch or something that you don't recognize, but the customer can see that you actually don't feel confident about that set, right? So just record yourself. I guarantee you, even if it's not that, there will be other things that you pick up and you're like, holy crap, I gotta fix that because that does not look good to a customer standing across from me. The other thing I would say about this before I dive into the script, when you're talking about the bigger sets, please write down, if you haven't already, I know I'm going to say this and you're like, oh yeah, I did that 6 months ago at the mall meeting. Maybe not 6 months ago, 4 or 5 months ago, whatever. You need a Cutco kitchen brochure. The pamphlet, like the laminated one. I hope you guys all have that. I hope when I say that, you're just like, yeah, of course, right? But I'm sure there's maybe one person or somebody that doesn't have one. But the reason that this is important is because when you're talking about and showing the bigger sets, when they can see the bigger sets laminated on a page, it makes it so much more official for them, right? It's not like, you're not just like pointing to the blocks is one thing, right? Because you should have all the block sets with you when you're at a show. But like, I've seen reps that will like, try to like point to the knives on the table of like, oh yeah, this is our basic set. This is our signature set. This is our complete set. That's so confusing for the customer, right? I know it might seem like it makes sense because like visually, that's why you lay it. Kind of does make sense, but you have to remember that this is the first customer usually, well, yeah, if you're doing a new demo script, this is the customer's first experience with Cutco. You sell Cutco, so you know the sets front to back, right? You know what comes in each set. They don't. You want to keep it so simple, and when they can see the blocks on the page, it's just like, oh yeah, they can visualize via size to be like, oh yeah, that's what we would want, right? So get a Cutco kitchen brochure, laminate it if you haven't already. That makes a big difference too. Right? The brochure is one thing that looks awesome, but having it laminated is like ultra official to do that. Okay, open up that second script. So the longer one that I sent out, open that one up. Let's read through it. And again, this is from Josh. So you can thank Josh again for okay. Let's start from the top. So it says, okay, let's take a look at the knives then. I'll show you our 3 most popular sets. And by the way, you're seeing this after you've done, like, I'm sure this goes without saying, but you're saying this after you've gone through the guarantee, right? After you've cut all that stuff, right? Once you're actually talking about the set options. I'll show you our 3 most popular sets. This is our basic set, which is for people who don't do a lot of cooking or don't want to budget a lot for knives. It has 8 basic knives plus 8 steak or table knives. This here is our family set. It's for people who do a lot of the family meals. It has everything in the basic set plus the 4 most popular add-ons we find everyone needs when they're doing the family cooking. And this is our complete set. I'm just curious, but do you eat meat once in a while? Yeah, do you ever barbecue? Okay, then you'll like this set. It has everything in the basic and family set, plus it adds in the barbecue pieces and the carnivore knives. This is our best set and the set that most of our clients eventually end up with, since it has everything you'd ever need. We actually make enough knives to fill up 2 of these blocks, and we call that our super fan set, which is for customers who have the complete Cutco knife collection. But we find once most of our clients have the complete set, they have everything they'd ever need. In fact, since Cutco knows most people will eventually end up with the set, it's our most heavily discounted set because they incentivize you to go ahead and get it done all at once. Here, let's take a look at what comes in the set, and then you tell me if you think it's this one or one of the smaller ones. Okay, so a few things I want to point out here, and then we'll practice it. The basic set, it's so basic, right? Like if you think about like selling a 5-piece, that's really basic, but when a customer hears this, it's like, oh yeah, it's for someone that doesn't do a lot of cooking or they don't want to budget a lot. So many people identify with that, right? Like they just do the basics, and now that's the homemaker set. That's not like a 5-piece. You can still sell a 5-piece, right? But what happens when you start higher, you finish higher. Not to mention when we talk about the complete set in this, right? The ultimate set. The beautiful thing about this is you're telling the customer like, hey, most people end up with this, right? And you're also building up the like package discount that they're getting with the set, right? So you're not just building up the knives that come in the set, which you are, right? You're actually building up the discount that comes with it because people are really attracted to discounts. People naturally will spend more because they're saving more, right? So that's a really important piece of the script. Okay, we're gonna role play this a couple times, and then I'm gonna talk a little bit more about it. Okay, so you can get with the same partner. We might need one extra person, but yeah, get with the same partner, either call or whatever you're aiming for. We'll do the same thing. Let's just do this twice each because this one's longer. So 2 times each, and then we'll keep going.
Cool. Okay. I'll show you the knives then. I'll show you our those are on your sets.
Okay, so let's take a look at the knives then. I'll show you our two most popular sets. This is our basic set, which is for people who don't want to cook or don't want to
This
budget
here is
a
our
lot for
family
knives.
set.
It has our 8-piece each knives plus the
You
steak
want
all
family
together.
members. As everything
This
in the
here's
basic
our
set,
family
also
set.
our most
It's a
popular
big one,
ads.
so a lot of
This
families
is why
love
everyone
it.
needs when you're
Everything's
doing
on the basic
Facebook
set, plus our
And this is
4
our
most
complete
popular
set. I'm
add-ons.
curious, do you ever
You
like
find that
eat
everyone
once in a
needs
while?
when
They do like barbecue.
And this is our complete set.
And
I'm
if you don't like
curious.
the set, let's
Do you
say.
ever eat meat once in a while, or do
Because
you
everything is
barbecue?
the basic and
Okay,
family
awesome.
set.
So then you'll like the set. This has everything in the basic set and family set, plus it adds
Most of our
barbecue
clients
pieces.
eventually end up with, since it has
This is our
everything.
best set, and
We'll
the
actually
set
make
that
it
most of
nice
our
to fill out
clients
2 of these
usually
packs and have all that
each
plan set,
with.
just for our clients who.
Since it has
have to
everything
have
you
this
ever need,
good night
we
collection.
actually make enough
But if
knives
I
to
plus
fill
for
up these box, and we call it our
if
super
everything
fan set,
they ever need.
which is
In
for
fact,
clients
since Cutco knows
who
most
have
of
complete Cutco knife collection.
eventually with this set, it's our most heavily discounted set. Because they
Have
tell
a
you to go ahead and
Cutco
just
knife
get those
collection, but we find most
Here,
We
let's
find
take a look at
once
it.
most of our clients
You
have
tell
a
me if
complete
you
set,
think
they have
it's
everything
this
they ever
or
need.
you want
It
to
adds, since Cutco knows most people will eventually end up, it's our most heavily discounted set, because they like to incentivize you to go ahead and just get it done all
So
at
this guy
once.
here is actually our
So,
popular knife.
Here, let's take a look at what comes in it, and then you can tell me if you think it's this one or one of
Yeah,
the
so this is our
others.
most popular knife. It makes it like 6 sides and your tomatoes, cheese, and you can serve. You have to try this guy. So actually, it used to be an
So this is actually and this is complete set.
Yeah, we don't serve. Yes.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'll just start watching it. So that was
It's our best set,
and then we
and
got
the set most of our
our
clients.
our 2
Since it has everything
So
covered. We actually make enough knives to fill up 2 of these boxes.
yeah, so that guy with bones,
Which is
coconuts,
large knives.
right? This guy who is like veggies, even though it's big, it's not super heavy.
Who have to have the entire collection. We find most of our clients are complete sets, they have everything. So in fact, since Cutco knows most people eventually get this set, it's our most heavily discounted set because we incentivize you to go ahead and just get it done all at once. So let's go ahead and take a look at what comes in it. You can tell me. Is this one?
Okay, let's take a look at the knives then. I'll show you our previous complete set. This is our basic set, which is the plus about and this year's our single set. It's a big match for a lot of family meals and that's what their add-ons.
Just like three things.
And this is our just out of curiosity.
Probably.
You guys are
Yeah.
That's everything in the basic set and the basic set. Adds barbecue pieces. This is our best set. And the set that most of our clients actually end up with, since it has everything. We actually make nice Phillips bigger and we call that our sweet band set. For our clients who have to have their knife collectors. But we find that once most of our clients have
I'm not sure yet. I love it for a little while.
Here, let's take a look at what comes in it and you can tell me if it's
Super chill.
Yeah. So we're gonna
Yoga, all
all
that.
that fun stuff. That's good.
I leave on Thursday for Europe again. 3 weeks.
Oh, nice. We're at this time. Okay. Beautiful.
And then this is our complete.
So that's like my one day.
And just out of curiosity, you guys eat meat once in a while?
Oh, thank you for being here.
Well, it has everything. I haven't changed the game. Plus that's part of the We do actually make enough knives for 2 of these products, so we call it our super fan set. For our clients who have to have this. But we find most of our clients, once they have the complete set, they have in fact, since Cutco knows most people will eventually end up with this set, it's actually a heavily discounted set because we just want to incentivize you to go ahead and get it all done at once. So let's go ahead and take a look at what comes in it, and you can tell me.
How many times do you want us to do it? 3?
Just twice. Is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're done.
But it's not as far in a couple years, Josh with pulling knives.
So a summer.
He has enough people to it.
Not in the same.
I'm actually do stuff. That's how I can say that. There's no big managers here. Actually, that's rough.
Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah. This is mine too. My first summer in 5 years. That I haven't been really office, and I'm like,
Yeah. No, Brennan was like, she was like, how is it gonna feel like have a hobby? Like you're gonna be able to like have like
you're like, I don't know, work out.
Literally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright guys, full attention for Colleen.
Yeah, the other day I was just looking back at like what my schedule was.
Let's roll. Okay, I'm gonna cut you guys off. Again, you guys look so good. Keep working on that. Okay, great. Okay, so a couple things I just want to touch on based on that. The first thing that I didn't really talk about, the Cutco fan set. Did you guys know that we legitimately make enough knives to fill up a second ultimate block? Right, I'm sure a lot of you guys do. Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome, but like all the Santoku knives, right? So why are we saying that is because while we're conditioning the customer right there to like think about the ultimate as the biggest set, we're all and like the signature and the homemaker as really basic. We're also still conditioning them to realize that like the ultimate is still not even the biggest thing that they can get, right? Like there's still more that they can add. There's another set that they can build. So you're just conditioning them again to think that it's not like the biggest, craziest, huge set, right? And then the other thing I didn't mention, you'll see it at the bottom of the script. After that, you just go into those 6 knives, right? You talk about the 4-inch paring knife, the salmon knife, the vegetable knife, the cleaver, boning knife, hearty slicer. The cheese knife is not specific to the ultimate set, but you can still demo it because it's awesome. And then it really builds the value if they say it's too big, it really builds the value in the signature set as an easy drop down, because they really like that knife after you demo it, right? Okay, so I'm gonna move on from that, but again, guys, practice this, it makes a really big difference. And like I said, this is a little snippet from Josh Muller's script that people pay for, right? So like, use this, add this, I promise you it works. And customers now leave that little section of the appointment being like, oh yeah, like we're more of a complete like family because we really like those 6 pieces. Or no, I think we just do basic, and now the homemaker is so basic to them, right?
I have to throw a little thing in there just because it's recent. The whole selling on the 5 or 6 pieces in the ultimate, 1000% gold. Like Founders Day, sold 2 ultimate sets, and it was 100%. Both of them said the same things. They couldn't decide which set. And they're like, so what's that 2 pieces come with? And it was the literally the knife, the Cleveland salmon knife, the orange berry knife. What set does this come with? Because I really don't know if I would use these every day. And she pointed out like the spreader and the smaller knives. And I was like, well, if you want those pieces, then you should just buy the big set because it has all of this, but it also has this. And then literally it was the same scenario one Saturday, one Sunday, they both bought specifically because they came there. So in the past, I could have been like, oh, you do a custom homemaker or whatever. Now they actually buy an ultimate set because you just stay firm on like, hey, you should just buy a complete set if you want these pieces.
Yes.
It does work.
Yes, 100%. Because think about it, adding on to that, it's like if you spent the amount of time that you used to spend talking about the homemaker pieces, right? Like when we all first learned to sell Cutco, right? We like dive into the homemaker pieces, right? On like how cool this spatula spreader is or the turning fork. So naturally, like if you continue to do that, you're gonna have a ton of people want homemakers, right? Imagine if you did that and you didn't talk about any of the ultimate pieces. They'd be like, well, why would I want the ultimate? These pieces sound awesome. But now if you're doing the exact same thing, you're talking about the bigger pieces, of course they're gonna want those. You're gonna sell more bigger sets. Okay, the next piece I want to talk about that's pretty quick, but kind of adding on to what Dante's saying. When you get really good at this, and you get really good at building value in those 6 pieces, yes, you will absolutely sell more ultimates, right? Because naturally people want those pieces, and a lot of times the people that are buying the complete set, one, they like the pieces, and they really like the idea of just having the complete set. But every once in a while, if it's not in someone's budget, right? Like they might really like it, but it's just not in the cards right now. Sometimes you'll start hearing is, well, no, if we were gonna do it, we would just do the big one. So not today, in the future, we'll do that. Why would the customer be saying this? Well, you just told the customer in the script that they're getting the biggest, best discount when they're buying the ultimate set, right? When they're buying the complete set. So naturally the customer's like, well, I like those pieces. Those are clearly the best pieces, and that's the best discount. So why would I get anything else? It's not in the budget right now, but like, I wouldn't want a smaller set. Like that's the set I want. It's just not the right time, right? So I remember I heard that like my first show after I learned this stuff, and I was like, shit. I was like, I don't know what to do. I was like, you're right. I didn't actually say that, but I was like, I don't know how to handle this. And so I asked Josh right after that. We had a call, and I was like, what do I do when they say that? Because I was always thinking like, well, I guess I could sell them like a gourmet set. But I was like, that doesn't really make sense, because have you guys ever heard the term like death pieces? It's the pieces that you sell to a customer that don't allow you to sell an upgrade in the future, right? Like when you do a custom set, because by the way, guys, like it sounds awesome to sell like a custom homemaker, right? Well, yeah, you're still getting 1,000 to 1,500 CPO, but you're completely like axing any chance on that customer to buy more in the future. Because in their eyes, they now have all of the best pieces. So instead of being like, oh, well, we can do a custom set, or you can just buy the gourmet set where you're getting most of them. Instead, this is where that ultimate upgrade brochure really comes into play and makes a huge difference. So what you can say is, and I tried to look for the script, but I couldn't find it. I'm sure it's on the website somewhere, but I'm sorry. So what you can say is something along the lines of, hey, it sounds like you really like those pieces, right? Sounds like you're gonna get it eventually. Just so I'm hearing you correctly, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding your situation. It sounds like it's not really in the budget right now, but you really like the pieces, right? Okay, cool. And it also sounds like you don't really want to lose that big bundle discount that you get when you buy the complete set. And they're always like, yeah, exactly. Because you just told them that they're getting the best discount on that set. So now when you repeat that back to them, they feel heard, feel understood. They're like, oh yeah, they get exactly where I'm coming from. Then you whip out the ultimate upgrade brochure. You're like, well, here's what's really cool, Mrs. Jones. is we actually have this really cool upgrade program, where when you buy a smaller set, like our basic set, for instance, this is what a lot of our customers will start with. And then later down the road, let's say in a year or two, you call me up and you say, hey, I think I'm ready for those extra pieces. And then you just explain the upgrade. You're like, hey, what we do is we take the full complete retail value off of what you own, like the basic set, and we take it off the top of the price for a bigger set. So that way, Mrs. Jones, you're not penalized for starting with something smaller, and it's better to have a few good knives than no good knives at all. So let me show you what comes in the basic set, and then you build it up, right? Then you actually do talk about how awesome those pieces are, how cool the spatula spreader is, how cool the turning fork is. And then it's like half the price, right? And they're like, oh, that's actually great. And then again, you explain, yeah, and then remember, in a year or 2 years, when you're ready to upgrade, we'll take the full current retail value, even though in a couple years it'll be more expensive. The price that you're paying today will be more expensive in 2 years. So we'll take the price that it's going to be in 2 years off the top of the price of the big set. So you still get the same bundle discount, and this way you can still have a few good knives ready to get started. And then they're like, oh, that makes so much sense. So I wanted, because the first, like I had that happen a few times where I was so good at like building the value in those pieces, and then the customer's like, well, I can't afford it, and I don't want anything else. And I didn't want to give the customer an opportunity to not buy from me in the future, right? Like the idea is you should like, and I know that might be hard to like think about right now, but like the way that the top CSPs in our company are thinking about their interactions with customers is like that customer is going to have a Cutco kitchen eventually, right? And if you sell them those like quote unquote death pieces, and again, what are the death pieces? Those 6 knives that you just talked about, right? The ones that limit you from an upgrade in the future. It just, you're not able to sell them. You can sell more, but it's just much harder, right? Because we know that those 6, 7 pieces are so easy to build value in. The last thing I would say is I threw a lot at you guys, and like Dante was saying, like there's so many little things, like after you get your script down, there's so many little things and tweaks that you can do to your demo to really make sure that you're having like a top-notch demo. I would really suggest taking these little things, whether you're going to use the whole thing I sent you or just like the first 2 lines or whatever, and I would work them into your script and then memorize that, right? Like I remember when I first started like getting new things to add, it would all be in my brain, and I would be like, I'd have a script and I'd try to memorize, and then should I have to also say this other thing? Excuse my language. I have to also say this other thing, right? These 2 extra lines, and I would forget because it wasn't in my script. So if you have to, copy and paste your script and add this stuff in, and then memorize it, right? Record yourself saying it. That's how I always memorize stuff, and then I listen to that recording over and over and over again. But just don't expect that your brain is just gonna like pick it up. I know some of you guys have a great memory, I do too, but like still, it's so worth it to spend the time adding that stuff in so you can actually nail it when you're in front of the customer. So that's what I have. If you have any questions, let me know. But yeah, I hope that was helpful.
Very solid.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Recap. So first things first, any questions for Colleen before we do a quick recap on that? Anything she needs to explain again? Any general questions about that stuff?
Oh, I have one.
Caitlin.
I just wanted to, you mentioned this a little bit. I just want to confirm. When you say that you demoed the 6 bulky pieces, and you were sort of mentioning that a lot of people spend time with the homemaker, you don't spend any time? No. Okay.
If the really it's only if the ultimate signature is too big, because when someone identifies themselves as a base, like when you ask them, and by the way, I didn't say this, but after you've gone through those 6 pieces, you actually ask the customer, like you open up to that brochure again, and you're like, so would you consider yourself more of a basic family type household? If they identify themselves as a basic household, it's not because of the pieces. It's because like they're like, yeah, I don't do a lot of right? So if they identify themselves as that, then you can actually talk about, cool, well, here's what you'd be getting. We'll cover all your bases, and then you're covered, right? Even we know that there's more stuff that they can buy, but you're just rebuilding the value of the fact that they're a basic household. So no, you don't have to talk about any of the basic pieces unless they identify themselves as a basic household.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Where do you stand?
Medea, we'll get to you right after.
Customer cut a potato with cheese knife, and if you do, when do you do it here or when do you do it?
You can do it. I think it's great. I would say it's like 50% of the time I do cut potatoes, 50% I don't, but it is the cheese knife, obviously. And you can either do it when you talk about the ultimate set. That's, in my opinion, that's probably the best place to do it, because they're still going to get it in the ultimate set. But let's say they say, like when you're demoing those 6 or 7 knives, right? I called it 6, but you have to choose like and they're at 7. Let's say they say that the ultimate set is too big. Well, if they love that knife and they see the potato being cut, when you drop down to the signature, they're like, oh, and they get that knife? Oh, that's really exciting. It doesn't come in the basic set. So I would probably do it when you're demoing the ultimate pieces. So technically would be 7 knives that you'd be demoing.
It's like this, think of it as like the scissors with the penny, right? Generally, you want to try and save that for when you're explaining the set, so that way they're more inclined to pick at least a signature set to start with, versus like blowing that off factor too early in the demo. So kind of the same principle is what it sounds like. Try to save the best stuff for when you're showing the set, so that way they're more inclined to pick a bigger set to start with. The higher you start, the higher you finish, right? Cool. Nadia, you had a question for Colleen.
Thank you, Colleen.
Yes, thank you so much. That was really informative. There were definitely moments.
Sorry, 1 second. I think. All right, 1 sec. All right, try it again.
Okay, I just wanted to say thank you, Colleen. There were definitely moments I felt like you were calling me out by name, even though we haven't met yet. So I really appreciate the learning opportunities. I wanted to ask if there was thoughts behind doing like an ultimate on a 10 or 15 pay versus doing the homemaker and then doing an upgrade in a year or two. What was the pros and cons of each?
I would usually say that like if it's just a knife set, doing something on a 10 or 15 pay just means that they can't afford it. And I wouldn't try to like pressure them into spending more that they can legitimately afford. It's a different story, in my opinion, if you're adding on a cookware set or a flatware set. Doing that on a 10 or 15 pay, I think is actually like, that can make more sense. But there was this, I don't know if someone knows it, but there was a statistic that was like only 60% of orders that you put on a 10 pay actually come through on the 10 pay. In other words, like after those 5 months, sometimes a customer will either their card will expire or they'll change their card because they might know that payment's coming and it's just not in the budget, right? Because again, if they're putting it on a 10 pay, it means that like it's just not in the cards right now. So I would always rather have like the for sure sale now and make the customer feel comfortable about how much they're spending than take the chance on that order not going through in 5 months.
I get that, but like, so if I've never done an order on a 10 pay or a 15 pay, but I was thinking like when you have the block, but like as almost like a builder, like if you do a complete set. Oh, so I didn't mean 10 or 15 pay. I meant like doing a builder and they have the complete set, they have the hole for the cleaver, everything there, and then doing that in the next 5 months. Are you saying, are you still sticking with that?
So are you saying like doing like the Siggy builder or like the ultimate builder where they're getting the signature pieces now in the ultimate block?
Yes.
You could, but you're just going to get more CPO by selling a signature set.
Yeah, can you explain to them why, Colleen?
Yeah, it's just, I don't really know why, but Cutco heavily discounts the builder sets.
Very much.
So, yeah, so it's not even close to what an actual signature would be. So like, I know as reps, we learn about that and it's like, oh, that seems like such a good idea. But just keep in mind that the customer has no idea that exists. Mm. And like for them, that's not even a thought. They would never think that would be an option. Right. So like, I wouldn't do that. The other thing too is like I said, there's no guarantee that customer is going to buy more. Yes, if they have empty holes in their block, is it likely that they're going to see those and be like, oh yeah, I have more knives to buy for sure. But it doesn't always happen. So I would say sell the set that they're comfortable buying today. Right. And I like never put anything on a 10 pay unless I like have to. And if it's like one of the other like cookware or flatware options.
Okay. Thank you so much. That really helped clear it up.
Okay, cool.
And I hope you guys understood what Colleen was mentioning. For you guys that may or may not know, yeah, the builder set, like the prepackaged build item number really sucks to Rolo. It just does. I don't know why it's built the way it is. It's basically like an automatic trade-in is what it is. You're all excited because you get a homemaker and a Siggy block, a Siggy and ultimate block. Oh, the buyer. So true to that, like when I do upgrades, I very rarely, if ever, sell an upgrade with the Siggy block anymore, just because I will gladly sell them on the extra $70 to get a bigger block to fill in versus spending that on a Siggy and then buying another one. Point being is when you're doing an actual set, just sell them the set as is, guys. I think it's always great if you can get them to add on an ultimate block, but don't process as an actual builder order because you're going to see that CPO drop like a rock and you're going to be like, I upsold them and I made less. What? So for some reason, that's the way it is right now. So don't do it. But it's a valid question. I'm glad I got brought up though. Any other last minute questions? Well, some good ones there. Good. All right. Basic recap of Colleen's talk. Number one, power intro. We all understand the power of the power intro now. To establish what? 100% credibility. As I work in this business longer and longer, guys, the earlier that you can establish credibility and self-confidence in what you're doing, the more that people are going to be bought into you about what you're going to show them, right? Especially the higher quality the customer, the more easier it is for them to buy into you as a person and as a rep. Makes sense? You don't want to just come off as that college kid, because Cutco is especially known for having college kids. Even though a lot of you guys are younger, you have to make sure to really establish that self-confidence as early as possible. The earlier you can do it in the demo, the better. Okay. Set options, I like the 5 main knives, using brochures. Let me ask you guys, just as like a pop quiz, do you guys have the brochures laminated out in front of you when you're working events?
Yes.
Brett?
I have them, but not.
Defense, I literally took them to Office Depot and they refused to laminate them. They're just not laminated, so I'll go with it.
Okay, for you guys on Zoom,
Yes.
I need to show a hand, see how many of you guys have the brochures and they're laminated.
I'm like, literally, everyone I know has these exact.
What in tarnation? So,
Yeah.
Not laminated.
Teachers.
was that Jerry? Hey
I've
guys,
gone to Office Depot and wasn't able to.
it was, right, by the way, I've had my issues with Office Depot too. But point being is find a place, it's just one place, go to another place, get them laminated, worth it. What's up,
I'll
Colleen?
mention they usually say that because they think that it needs to pull flat. Like they're usually like, oh, we can't laminate it because they assume that you're really nitpicky about the fact that it's not gonna pull flat, but it's fine.
And get the thin lamination.
Yeah, if you're like, oh, it's fine, put it flat, just do it the thinnest lamination that you can, and I'll crease it, it'll be fine. And then they're like, okay.
Just like upgrades, guys, you tend to sell more upgrades when you have the brochure to hand them. They hold it, it's real, it's laminated, it's official, right? So if you want to simply sell more upgrades, that's a good way to start too. If you want to show them the sets, you got the sets for life, you got the kitchen brochure, you got the family program. Just get the 4 main brochures, laminate them, and get them good to go. Cool. Any questions, guys? No? I think the shark is swimming in the waters and he's really excited and ready, so. All right, guys, let's give Colleen one more round of applause. Can you check on that real quick? All right, guys, I'm gonna get a chair real quick and we'll start this with Sean. So I know most of you guys know Sean.
Oh, FedEx apparently is the place to go.
All right, guys.
Actually, mine got.
All right, make sure you guys can, hey, Sean, let's actually switch places here.
I have the other ones, but I don't know.
I can send you I'll send you the item number, you can order it.
All right, guys, so everyone say hi, Sean. Hi, Sean. All right, so for you guys, most of you guys, I'm sure know the name Sean Henry. If you do not, this is him in the flesh, also known as AKA Shark Henry. And so Sean's been with Cutco for a very long time, since 2008. Since 2008, and for, I don't know if you guys know this, he was the youngest rep to hit 500.
Something like that.
Yeah, in his first 2 or 3 years in the business, he won 2 silver cups as a rep. And so he was the fastest rep to hit $500,000 in career sales in company history, which is pretty exciting. And the guy is just one of the most true blood, like hardworking, nose to the grindstone, talented salespeople in this business. I've worked with Sean for a number of years now, and if you guys ever look at reports, he's pretty high up there in like the top 10-ish, 15 category, right in that range. And this past year, was it your best year?
No, but it was a little over 5.
Did over 500K last year in sales. That doesn't suck. And so Andrew's like sitting there just trying to comprehend that. That actually looked like a Carlton face for a second. You'll meet Carlton one day. So the point being, guys, is this guy sold a crap load of knives. And he's sitting here in the house right now with you guys. Y'all's objective is to take full advantage of this opportunity and be able to soak as much knowledge out of him as possible. Here's some of the things I like about Sean whenever I'm selling with him, is that he is one of the most like upfront, transparent, very good at connecting with customers in a very quick amount of time, to where he is able to get his demo done with them, but it never, ever, ever, ever feels like customers are being sold to. You guys know that saying that I've mentioned a few times over the years is a case customers love to buy, but they hate to be sold to. I never really get those vibes that customers feel like they're being sold to by Sean. And so one of the things that he's really great at is customer relationships, and his philosophy on the business is whether he sells a big order or one piece or anywhere in between that, his goal is to acquire customers, have a relationship with them, and to sell to them over a period of time until they eventually have everything they like. And as you guys might know too, Sean obviously has been a longstanding member on our key events program, sells a whole bunch of knives, has one of the best shipped averages on our team, and just constantly is turning out orders left and right. So even though it may not have like $1,000 average order like some of the stuff gets advertised, he has one of the best average orders, but he also gets one of the highest volume of orders while still maintaining that too. He still gets the walk-up replacement table knives, guys. He still gets the how much is the one paring knife? I just want the paring knife customers. He sells to those people just as well as the people that want bigger stuff too. So figured we do something a little bit different today. I have a list of questions that I thought would be good for you guys to hear directly from Sean himself. I have a list of about half a dozen questions plus. Make sure to take notes as we go. And then something I would ask of you guys is while this is going on, that you guys would start writing down questions that you would have for Sean. You have to keep in mind, this guy's been in the business for 14 years. 14 freaking years, guys. Sold a bunch of knives, won a couple of silver cups. The guy knows his stuff. So I want to make sure that that you guys can fully grasp the concept. We have a lot of badasses on our team, but you guys don't get to meet them all the time. So let's make sure to take advantage of your opportunity today. All right, what's up?
Can you say the questions also?
Yeah, there'll be really simple ones.
Okay.
Can I ask a question really
Yeah.
quick? So who else is in the room right now?
So this is Caitlin.
Well, I know Caitlin. I was like, I thought that was Cassie.
Yeah, that's Cassie.
I know her pretty well.
Caitlin. This is Brett.
What's up, Brad?
Well, this is Marco.
The legend.
Legend.
Okay.
Spencer.
Spencer.
Well, Colleen.
We were hanging out recently.
Andrew.
I'm the one you texted a couple times. Okay, awesome. I like
And
that.
then on there we have Hunter McKay in the top left. He's based out of Lubbock right now for school. Top right is Nadia. She's based out of Houston. Jerry's actually from El Paso, but moving to Houston. And then we have Matthew Sellers there in like the middle left-hand side as well from College Station area.
Okay.
And then we have the, trying to read it from a distance here. We have
Cool.
Eduardo. You need to check on Eduardo. I think he's right there. So it's Eduardo, also from Houston area. And then we have Nicole, the girl that moved from California. She's actually in transit right there right now to work as well too. So you have a whole crew in front of you. Great crew. Yeah. Well, do you have any anything you'd like to share before we get into it? Oh, and this is Angie, my wife.
I'm in the room.
Yes, yes, she is.
Yeah, I'm gonna brag a little bit about today. So I just got back from Cancun for the second time in a few weeks. We had our road trip there and didn't sell anything last week. But between when I woke up this morning and when I came here, I sold all 13K.
Wow.
So just chilling. So I've got a $10,000 order went through and a signature set. So boom, take a vacation, work for a few hours. Paycheck's gonna hit next week. So that's kind of cool. Huh?
Yeah.
So and then about 230 for the year so far. 240.
Yeah, did you guys realize that he's at 230 grand for the year so far? And the spring's not even his biggest time. Like his biggest time of the year is the fall. He'll sell a good amount during the summer, and then the fall hits hard for him. I have no idea what kind of numbers he's going to put up this year, but his goal is he just wants to work his schedule and live life. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into it.
All right.
And I'll just take as much time as you need.
Yeah.
Between these. So
I wanted to do this for you guys because you know, Colleen, she crushed the game with a prepared talk. And sometimes I feel like I'm a little removed from the basics at this point, and I'll get way off track trying to talk about flatware, a certain closing or something. And we got some amazing people on our team that are really good at giving messages. Honestly, that's not my strength. My strength would be come field train with me for a day. And so just with us being here, I just suggested this as a way to best help y'all. The main meat potatoes I'm hoping will be you guys getting a chance to ask me some questions. Kind of like round table, So anyway, take it away, Brian.
that's probably the best way to put it. So I'll start us off, and then after we go through these, we'll treat it like round table for you. All right, so first question, I feel like it's really important, is if you were in their position, what are the main pillars of building a Cutco CSP business?
So I'm just gonna say 3 things right off the bat. Is number 1 is your schedule. Number 2 is going to be your skills, and then number 3 is going to be your past customers and marketing. It's kind of like one thing. And I want to just challenge y'all with a little bit of thinking here. If you think about the relationship, like with your schedule and with time management and all that, a shift worker that works, and I've said this before, so I don't know if anybody's ever heard this, but if you think about like McDonald's, nowadays minimum wage is $15 an hour, right? Something like that. A shift worker is somebody who basically goes to work for a few hours and they only care about what happens at that shift during that time. And then maybe there's a person that has a little bit better of a job. They're like the store manager and they're worried about like the whole day at least, or the whole week, and everybody else that's going to be working. And there's like an owner of the store, or they're thinking about like the quarter or whatever it may be, and it goes all the way up to the CEO of McDonald's, right? The CEO of McDonald's doesn't just think about the shift or the week or the month or even years. They might think in terms of decades. And so when you're looking at your schedule and when you're thinking about things that happen with customers, is your mindset that you're the CEO of your business? Because that's what I'm putting into every single interaction that I have with customers. Every single show that I pick, every single day that I'm working, I'm not thinking about just then. I'm thinking about the impact it's going to have on my entire schedule, on my entire business. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I think one of the biggest steps that I got to was learning how to plan out goals and whatnot, learning how to use a calendar properly. This is probably like advanced training 2 type stuff, but like it goes really, really far. And you can ask me almost any day right now. Same thing with Josh, probably Dante also. You can hit us like any day in the fall and I'm going to be able to immediately tell you what's on my schedule. Like it is down to the hour planned out, not like campaign, it's the whole year. And I'm already working on next year. So that's how I treat my schedule. And then skills is the basics, like you need to improve your average order. You need to work better shows. You need to do the things that are going to, improve you to where you can increase the results that you're getting from your skill set. And there's a million ways to do that, from mentoring, from plugging into training, from just doing the job. And then the third thing is your past customers. So every single year when we start out back at 0, I have more past clients than I had the year before. And my marketing is tighter and better than it was the year before. So I know that I'm going to sell more. If I never worked a show, if I only manage my past customers, I'm going to have more past customer business than I did the year before. Does that make sense? And so I've always had like a goal personally to have about a 30% increase every single year. So like whatever it may be, it doesn't even have to be crazy. And I'll just show you all something, just like a little equation. Like let's say, what's a good number for like people in the room here? 50K, 100K is the goal for everybody in the room, something like that. For a year. Yeah. Yeah. So just throwing this out there, 100K, 100,000, and then we'll just do times 1.3. So grow by a little bit, 30. And then if I just keep going, it gets so nasty after a couple of years. So you got to realize that that's about what, 8 or 9 years in, you're $1 million shipper just by focusing on these 3 things, on improving your schedule, which could be better shows, better events, doing things the right way, improving your skills, and then the last thing, which was what did I say? Oh my gosh. Yeah, past customer marketing, right? So that's how Curtis sells so much. It's not that complicated. Does that make sense? So it's just, this all comes to what I said about being a CEO is like, are you even thinking about it like that? And it's no wonder that Josh or me, we get the results we get, because that's the attitude we have towards those, towards my schedule or towards every interaction with a customer. So, all right, next question. Is that good? All right.
So by a show of hands here, I'm actually curious. So raise your hand if you've had at least a 100K year so far.
So close.
So close. So here's what I would tell you guys, and this is to piggyback on Sean, not to take away from any thunder, but years ago, Josh said a very similar message. So Sean just shared about to have your first 100K year. For him, it was all about just working consistently. If he just worked consistently from January through December, he would sell 100K a year. Mm-hmm. Just by being in, with our trainings being better and our overall scripts and everything being better, just to be purely average, if you work consistently, you should sell 100 grand a year. That's it. So Next question. So when you were younger in the business, what motivated you to build your show schedule and how did you do it? Because obviously when you were newer on the team, for you guys don't know, he was one of like the 4 original members of the Lone Star Dogs. That's why the group is named Lone Star Dogs as well. So he was one of the 4 first starting members when shows weren't even really a thing. So they were forced to literally, all that stuff you guys see on the schedule, that was all from people like Sean. If you like Bernie Market Days, thanks Sean Henry. If you like Fredericksburg Trade Days, thanks Sean Henry. But what motivated you when you were in the business to actually build your show schedule when working shows wasn't even really a thing back then?
Yeah, well, so my come from, before I worked for Cutco, I worked at Taco Bell, and I did that for about 2.5 years while I was still in high school. I played sports and all that. It's pretty competitive. Wanted to be like a manager at every job I had. I went from Taco Bell, second job was Hooters. So I thought that was like the coolest thing in the world. Some of y'all 18, 19, you sell Cutco. When I was that age, I actually was working at Hooters. So it's pretty wild. I thought I had a dream job, but really it was frying chicken wings and it was a living hell. And this is kind of crazy. I kind of want to take a second just to share the actual whole story, because there was a Hooters waitress that came into the back one day. Her name was Catherine. She's a friend of mine. She went to Texas State also. And as part of her little table pitch to get the best tip possible, she would tell people how one of the goals she had was to be a realtor and how she was going to do that. And the table, somebody gave her a book, and I was in the back and I was just doing prep work, like chopping up celery or something. And she came in the back and she was being kind of goofy, and she just said, look what this table gave me. Oh my gosh. She was being dumb about it. And I thought to myself, I haven't read a book in a long time. It looked like a pretty small book, and I just thought, here, I'll read it. And the book was actually called The Greatest Salesman in the World, right? Has anyone ever heard of this one, right? Yeah. By Og Mandino, The Greatest Salesman Who Ever Lived, I believe is what it's called. And you talk about like completely changed my life. Like I'm not like plugging into personal development or anything like that. I'm frying chicken wings. You see, a couple years out of high school with no plan, and I'm working at Hooters. And I read the book, The Greatest Salesman Who Ever Lived. That's what it's called, right? Greatest Salesman Who Ever Lived, I'm pretty sure. No, I can't believe I'm not remembering this off the top of my head. But turned in my 2 weeks and moved to San Marcos because I was like going to go back to college, going to do what I set out to do, is get my degree. And then I wanted to get a better job, something that I'd never done before that was better than Hooters. And vector marketing, showed up. And is that not wild though? So long story short, I went from frying chicken wings to being the #1 rep in America. Very first year with Cutco. Broke a bunch of sales records and all that. And I never had any idea that was in me. But reading that book really changed the game.
Greatest Salesman in the World, by the way.
Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. Highly, highly recommend it. And I usually have a couple copies like at my house because somebody gave it to her. So I've got this kind of idea where any chance I get, I give it away because it changed my life.
But I had to bring those here.
But so the opportunity that events was, I immediately recognized. It was kind of interesting because Josh and Brent were both from other places. They had moved into the division, and Joseph really didn't sell very much back then. He sells a ton now, but back then he wasn't doing much at all. And I kind of came in as like this young, like fire under my ass, like want to sell a ton. And I was from the area. So I immediately recognized like, hey, we can do this and we can do this and we can do this and we can do this. And Josh is like, whoa, man, pump the brakes. We only have one booth, and we use the one booth. So it was like one community booth, right? The whole division had one booth. The whole division. And so one of the things that I did back then that I think is more common now, but I bought my own booth. Like I was the first one. I had like a couple good paychecks, like nothing crazy. I wasn't at that much in sales, but like, maybe 40 or 50,000 in sales. And I bought an entire display and I had my own booth. And then we used that booth to go out and do Wimberley Market Days and Bernie Market Days and Fredericksburg Trade Days and all those. And I cut my teeth in the Cutco business. Like while being a college student, I would work those events on the weekends. And then I would still maintain being a student during the regular week. And then just appointments and everything else I could in between. But that's sort of the beginning. And I just saw the opportunity that the events program had to offer. And I kind of got off track too, but like when I worked at Hooters, I didn't make very much money. And so when I came to Cutco, just those first few like 10K weeks and all, I'm getting $1,000 paychecks and I mean, my life is just like, I think I made 7 times more money like the first year with Cutco than I ever had in my life. And so getting involved with events for me was like the natural no-brainer. I was pumped up. I wanted to keep going and see what, how much could we sell and all that. And it's cool because the trade days in the markets, like now it's like malls and all these new things. But back then that was like the new layer. We didn't even have that before, if you can imagine that. So pretty cool. So that was pretty motivating. I was kind of like read the book and I'm like changing my life. Then I get exposed to Cutco and Josh and, personal development and all these amazing things. And so hardcore changed my life back then.
I think this might it might eat into the next question a little bit, but when you were their age, like young in the business and everything, was there anyone that you looked up to, anyone you attached yourself to, anyone in the business that helped you think bigger, grow, things like that?
Yeah, so Josh Moeller is like my brother. He was one of the groomsmen in my wedding, and I love him to death. And I was just very, very blessed to live close by him. I mean, unbelievably lucky and blessed in the world of Cutco to have that opportunity. So we didn't even have a mentor program. Some of y'all don't know this, but I was on the national advisory board for Cutco in 2010. And the relationship I had with Josh was so valuable to me that I pitched the mentor program to the company. They're like, we need a mentor program, because Josh had literally like molded me and it had such an impact on me that's part of why we have the mentor program now, which if you can imagine that's crazy too. But so Josh and I went field training with him, and I was making a bunch of excuses and talking about how it was starting to get hard. And he told me to, can I say it?
Yeah.
Stop being a little bitch, is what he told me, which is exactly what I needed to hear at that time. And so Josh is my primary mentor from day one. And then later in the business, Mike Dolan helped me a lot. But I do want to say that like one of the things that like a mentorship relationship where you're paying 5% or whatever these deals are now, I sought out the relationship, and it wasn't just what could I get from it. It was how can I also help and how can I also contribute. And right now, even though our division seems like it's pretty established, like we can never have enough leaders and we can never have enough people contributing. And so there's 1,000,001 ways that you can get involved and be helpful. And that stuff is going to put you close to me and Joseph and Josh and Dante and everybody else. And it's like our relationship, it wasn't about me paying him for mentoring. It was, hey, we're building the events program together and we have this amazing vision and goal. And just the byproduct was me getting to learn everything from him. Does that make sense? And those relationships are everywhere, Mike Dolan is now my friend. I talk to him almost, probably every other day. And he's never said how much I owe him or what this program is that I could pay for. It's just, we help each other out as much as we possibly can. And I learned because of that, if that makes sense. So I just want to challenge you, how can you contribute? How can you add value? And then you'll get to learn and grow through that process as well.
Something I find really interesting, but a show of hands here, does everyone here know Mike Dahlwood? Like know the name or anything? Facebook King. He is the Facebook King. That is 100% accurate. If you're not friends with Mike Dahlwood on Facebook, you need to be. Go and add him, and he will post his life story, literally like 30 stories a day. But it's cool because he's easily one of the Mount Rushmore Cutco reps when it comes to past customers. Like the amount of loyalty and past customer business he gets is off the charts. So I find that really interesting. So the reason why I bring that up, by the way, is Sean sells $500,000 a year. And he says that someone who's a good friend of his who still teaches them right now is a guy who literally sold, again, this isn't trying to like bring Sean down by any means, but literally doubled Sean's sales last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you guys look at Sean and you're like 500 a year, like that isn't even huge. That averages to 10 grand a week over a year. I was trying to do that for a push week, like for 2 weeks, let alone do that every week for a year. It's crazy. He found someone that outproduces himself, has a relationship, and learns from him. Mm-hmm. You guys have probably picked it up at this point, right? That the way you grow in Cutco is to spend time with people that sell more than you.
Yeah,
straight up.
You don't ever want to be the biggest fish in the pond. Like if you're kicking butt in your office and you find yourself like I'm the top person, like there's always another level. There's people that are selling a whole lot more than you are. So I try really hard to surround myself with those people. I don't ever want to be thinking I've made it or I've arrived or I sell just enough. It's nowhere near it.
I got 2 things on Bailey. I know, mentioned Bailey, good amount. There's a lot of examples of this, but it's ironic. He talks about when Josh told him when he was younger, like, stop being a little bitch. Guess what Sean said to Bailey right before he popped? Stop being a little bitch.
Pretty much the same thing. You just needed some people, that's a great way to blow somebody out of the business with a tough. There are certain people that need to hear that, excuses.
Yeah, I'm not saying go up to every rep in y'all's office and say, stop being a bitch, stop being, welcome to advanced training, stop being a bitch. No, we're not saying that. But what I'm saying is you guys are mature enough in the business where you guys understand what that really means. It's sometimes there's not a secret answer. Sometimes it's just get to work. Get to work. Do all the things that everyone else does, and then spend time with people that suffer more than you. I've told, hopefully Brett's okay with me sharing this. I've been telling this to Brett a lot, and I mentioned to a couple of you guys over time is, it's okay to reach out to CSPs like me and the others to find ways to hang out with us more. I don't know if you guys know this, but I feel like, because I felt this way when I was new, I felt intimidated to even message Josh Mueller or Joseph or Sean or whoever else knows brand new in the business. But what I find now that they're my peers now is that we're actually super receptive to spend time with you guys. Right? We're really busy. It's not gonna happen every day. But like for me personally, I have things going on at our house a pretty decent amount of time. Me and Angie, we do board game night. We're not even Cutco stuff. But what I find is that Bailey told me that when he got on key events, that's when he really started popping. Because he was transitioning from selling 1 to 2K a week to selling 3 to 5K a week consistently. Because he was hanging around people like Sean, we're averaging 10 grand a week. It makes 2 grand a week look like you're not even working, and it's just a compounding effect. Every week, every month, every campaign, your money in your account grows. You get higher expectations for yourself. Just remember, this guy's gonna, keep this interview going. Remember, Cutco's not like this. It's not this. It's not linear. It's like this. I was like this. I was a late bloomer. All right.
He's still blooming.
Thanks. He doubled my sales last year. I did 250. I was like, oh, that's cool. Only 500. I was like, jeez. So, anyways, I like that. Okay, so this is a good question. I'm speaking on that. You're 10 plus years in the business now, and you sell $500,000 a year. What are the motivations that you have now versus when you were younger? Because obviously your goal is very different when you're 18, 19, 20 years old selling Cutco. Now you're 34.
35 now.
35 now and selling Cutco.
Well, I'm an adult now. Before
That's
I was
true.
a kid, and so taking care of my family. I don't have kids yet, but we're working on it. So that'll be the next big thing. But I want to break the cycle in my family. Some of you guys, I don't know what your story is, but like the story really matters. And I come from a family where, my household was split, and we had like our truck repossessed and our ranch repossessed, and we were always, my parents were always fighting about money and things like that. And so for me, it's like Cutco is my vehicle to take care of my family and to never let that kind of stuff happen for my future, my wife or my future kids. Does that make sense? So it's like, it's real. It's not like just like, oh, I want to get rich, hell yeah, like 18, 19, whatever, that was fun. But nowadays it's serious. It's like, hey, I'm going to use this vehicle as a way to take care of my family and to break the cycle of financial challenges that have existed for multiple generations in my family. So that's pretty serious. I think about that every day. And that's what it, keeps me motivated, I guess. So I don't know if that's a very fun answer, but I also will say, I don't say that I'm jaded, but like I used to want to like change the world and do a lot of stuff. And I sort of like my views changed a little to where like I really just want to have a family. Like that's a big accomplishment nowadays. Like just that is hard to pull off. And so if I can manage to run my Cutco business successfully and have a happy marriage and kids that aren't shitheads, hopefully, we'll see. I'll be pretty happy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So there you go.
And I know you said that wasn't like an exciting answer, but I think a lot of us would agree that's a very real answer. And so I think the reason I'm asking this question, by the way, to him is because I do know Sean's background a little bit just from knowing him over the years, and we all come from different backgrounds. And I think it's important that if you're going to sell Cutco for a long period of time, some of you guys may not know this, like you guys are like, I'm going to do this throughout college, and on to the next thing. But some of you guys may be here 10 years and you don't even realize it yet. I didn't think I was gonna be here this long. I'm sure so he didn't think he was gonna be here this long. And so I think the main point is regardless of how skilled you are and how full your schedules and all that, you have to have a driving force. And Sean has been motivated since day one, but his motivations have changed since day one. So I think it's important that you guys are all younger in the business. You have your own personal goals. And I think they're obviously really important to you, but over a period of time, as you're with us longer, your goals are going to change and they're going to elevate to better problems.
Yeah, and this is a good place. I'm just gonna say that too. Like one of the things I learned as an early lesson is that everybody gets good at something, right? And you want to make sure that what you're getting good at is worth getting good at, if that makes sense. Because a lot of people that they pursue a career field or they're going to school for something and they get a few years into it and they have a kid or a couple kids, 2 cars, mortgage payment, and then they realize they don't even like what they do, you know? And our job's pretty cool. I mean, I spent half the month in Mexico, you know. I've shipped 40K this month. So it's like crazy, like that we can do that. I mean, that is really cool when you actually step back and think about it. So I would just say, like, think about that. You want to get good at something that is worth getting good at. And I mean, I'm not going to give you all the details, but I'm a multiple 6-figure earner. And I have been with Cutco for almost 15 years. So I think it was worth it at this point. You know, I think I don't want to compare myself to others. Other people are doing better than me too, but so far this has been an awesome thing in my life. So I highly recommend it.
10 out of 10 would sell. Except as long as they show up to train. So what are the opportunities that you wish you would have taken advantage of in your early days when you were younger? Because obviously you were a top performing rep, Silver Cup 2 times over. So you've had success early. You've still had bumps in the road, and obviously you're a high performer now. So what would you say are the opportunities if you could roll back a clock that you wish you would have taken advantage of?
I just jotted some stuff down on this one. So like the earlier you can start marketing, the better. Like I feel like a lot of my first few years of selling, all those customers were like sacrificed. Like I don't. Yeah. Every once in a while, it's so amazing because I still have ROR for these certain clients from like way back when. But they've moved and I lost track and they were never in the database and all this, but then they'll buy something else. So they'll buy online or from a catalog. And then their information is like now repopulated in Fast Action. And it's like they're a customer again. And it's like this reunion that happens. And it's a beautiful thing. So the sooner you can get your marketing organized, I mean, if you're at an events team level, then you might as well. Marketing is like literally like free money. Like I didn't realize how important this is. And you get the easiest orders of all when you're doing marketing. Like when a customer walks up to the booth and they've never heard of Cutco, or they're like there for some other reason, like they're at the mall or whatever, and you have to do all this effort to reel them in and sell to them. From marketing, we get customers that literally want to buy from you and they come right to you, and it's just the easiest orders of all. So you need to dial that in. Okay, so marketing is one. Better booth sooner. Like our booth standards were like ridiculously low. Like we basically would have like a cardboard sign that says these aren't your grandma's knives, but they were. So
back when
we used to like write the word sale on a cardboard sign. I'm not kidding.
Have you guys ever
have y'all heard we're having a
pictures?
sale? It was like ridiculous.
Josh has that classic picture from Austin Home Show from like 2009 or 10. And it's literally just like the not fitted blue tablecloths.
Yeah. And
you have every Cutco block empty, and then just knives scattered on the table. And there was food art. Food art was a thing back then.
Yeah. One time, just fun story. We signed up for a chili festival in Fredericksburg, and the only way to get into the show was that we were an art vendor somehow. Josh finagled the contract and got us into the show. But he also waited till the night before the show to let me know that I was going to be doing a food demonstration live on stage with a microphone and everything. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? And he sent me a bunch of like online like videos and whatnot of how to turn like a cucumber into a shark and like a little apple into a bird. And I cut like a cantaloupe in half and then like stuck a carrot in it and then cut a bell pepper on top. It was like a little island. It was complete trash. And then Joseph was my assistant. You know, he was there like cleaning up stuff. And we had a little pop. We sold like 1,500, you know, something like right after the show. All the customers ran over the booth with birds be paring knives.
Hey guys, back then average order was 150. That's funny though.
Yeah, also better booth would be one, and then I just also wrote just standards, you know, the ultimate, it's okay to sell the ultimate. You know, people are afraid of that. I think the number one thing that helped me sell an ultimate one is just having one and cooking a little bit. Once you realize like all the knives are useful, and then compared to other things that are in your house, like I think another thing, and my average order, like as I've gone through life, my average order has increased a lot. So I got my own ultimate. I started selling more ultimates. I buy my own house, and I'm paying for all these things to go on with a house. It's like all of a sudden I'm looking at these household expenses like they're no big deal. And
So signature set every month.
yeah, exactly. And so, but just raising your standards sooner, you know, whatever you can do to get yourself to that point mentally. I mean, I don't know. Don't be afraid to sell ultimates or kitchens. I mean, you got to go for it. So, and the thing is, like everything Coco was talking about, and every other talk that you'll hear is going to be about average orders. I still sell tons of paring knives. I still sell tons of replacement table knives, and things like that are constantly flowing through as part of my averages. But it's when I get the chance, when I have a good customer, I don't want to make a gross error and only sell them a Siggy or only sell them an ultimate when I could have sold them a kitchen. So like, even though those aren't the most common orders, if I have one of those every few weeks or so, then that will immediately move the needle on your average order. So you just gotta have, you know, it's a lot easier to sell a table knife, you know, or a 5-piece, but when you get the chance, you need to be locked and loaded and ready to sell big. So I'm sure there's times where I kick myself. I'm like, God, I forgot to show them the cookware. I didn't show them the flatware. I didn't even mention the family program and things like that. I'm like, I probably could have sold more. But think about that after the fact. It's like, you just as little of that as possible. So
good. So I got 2 more for you.
All right.
So talk about the opportunities you wish to take advantage of. So speaking on top of that, you talk about food standards and all that. What would you, tangibly speaking, like what would you have just simply done differently?
So I was looking at that one, like what would I have done differently? You know, the story is got me this far, but I think relationships are just really, really important, guys. And the more you can develop relationships, you know, I feel like I wish I had more, and I wish I would have, you know, less fear to reach out, like what Dante's talking about, hitting up the CSP or getting to know people that aren't even from your division. You could see a name on a report, and you're like, man, you know, I notice them every week, and we're kind of at the same level in the business. And reach out, find out who they are. So I think relationships more than anything. And then I've been very guilty of being prideful and stubborn, and it's affected my business at different points to where I've had to like rebuild or do things differently than other reps may have done. And I'll spare you all details, but relationships are really, really powerful. That's your most important currency in this business is relationships. Okay, that's going to lead to more growth and more opportunity than anything else, honestly.
Yeah, no, that's.
Is this good stuff?
Chris is kind of
Is this good stuff?
I can show you those.
Yeah. All right.
And hopefully you guys are appreciating like with this little change of format, and hopefully at the end, yeah, it's a good change of pace to mix it up every once in a while, and you guys get to really just you know what it's like behind the sales report and stuff. So I got one more for you.
All right.
All right. So this is really good for people in this room because no one here. So everyone here has good career sales. You guys worked events, but I don't believe everyone here has had a 100, at least their first 100K sales individual year. And so, what are some personal standards? So if you were sitting on the couch or on Zoom or whatever, what were some personal standards that you would put on yourself if you haven't had your first 100K year yet?
Okay. So this is probably the real good stuff here. All right, I'm just gonna blurt out some stuff. 20 calls a day, and I know we're talking about events. If you want to have a great week and show up to the event and like sell, like I want to say you want to have a 5K week, well, it's really helpful to be at 3K before the event has even started. See what I'm saying? Like the events is a layer, but nobody is over like, oh, I'm on the events team now, I don't need to do demos and service calls. Like that stuff is still the most profitable, and I would say more than half your sales should be coming from that source. I don't know if you agree or what the numbers exactly are, but 20 calls a day will keep the 9 to 5 away. That has been my motto since day one. 20 calls a day will keep the 9 to 5 away. Okay, some people do this thing where they sit down and make 100 calls and like people don't answer. You need to do it all the time, 20 calls a day. If you do appointments, like mix it in throughout the day. I used to always do 4 appointments a day, 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 7 o'clock. I would make 7 calls between each appointment, and I always got my 20 calls a day. I dare you, I freaking dare you, guarantee you, no one will do it. Just do it. 20 calls a day. Do that for like 2 weeks and just see what happens. Just try it. Okay, it's harder than you think. 20 calls a day. So that's an absolute standard that I got really, really good at in the beginning. What is it?
Are you calling past customers for your marketing?
It doesn't even, just figure it out. The phone is attached to you. Just find a way to make 20 calls. Yeah. Who bought Cutco last month? I should probably call them and make sure that the package came and see how they're doing. You know, just anything, just mix it up, get used to making calls. Okay. The other thing, consistency is everything when you're new. Okay. So consistency is the easiest way to build momentum. And the 2K a week thing, like whenever I was new, there's the report, the newsletter comes out once a week. And it was cool when like we would go to the office and my manager would show it to me and all that. But then I stopped really being plugged into the office. I started being more plugged into the division FSMs and CSPs. But that consistency club was everything. So 2K a week consistency club, like get your name on that list and don't let it fall off. At one point I was one of the ones that was on there years and years ago. I was like 100+ weeks or something, like 100 weeks of 2K per week. And that was like 2008, 2009, 2010, like that whole period of my Cutco career, I was selling at least 2K a week. And if you can get on the 3K a week list, that's even better. But whatever it is, I mean, 2K a week is going to equal 100K a year. I mean, doesn't take a genius on that. So just consistency, doing it every single week is really, really important. You don't want to fall off. You have 2 bad weeks, you know, next thing you know, it's joining Herbalife, you know, starting over, you know, 2 bad weeks and a bad show. Now you don't hit bonus, you know, stupid stuff starts to happen, especially when you're new in the business. So you need to maintain momentum, right? Losing momentum in this business, this is a sales job and we work on commission, okay? You don't want to lose momentum. It's a lot easier to keep momentum going and to advance on momentum than it is to build momentum. Like imagine a train that is stopped on the railroad tracks and all the energy that it takes to get it going versus all the energy that it takes to keep it going. Do you see what I'm saying? So don't lose your momentum, stay consistent, keep working every week, hit a basic goal like 2K or whatever it may be. And then, you know, you're going to mix in some 5K weeks or more. But you have the 5K week, that doesn't mean have a 0 week the week after. Keep the consistency going. So I would say that the 20 calls a day plus the 2K, literally 100K a year, there it is. Like you'll do it. It will happen. So yeah.
I think a good example of this too, and it wasn't even 100K a year, it was 200K a year, is Paul Schlocky. If you look at Paul's schedule from last year, like a third of his shifts he worked were farmers markets. He worked them all in Abilene, which he's been building the last few years. So he had a good December, right? It's like a fourth of his year. Outside that, he still sold 150 grand between January and November. And if you look at his schedule, like he had a couple of key event shifts, a couple of good opportunities he had in there. But a vast majority of his shifts were Wolf Ranch Farmers Market, BK's Farmers Market, Fredericksburg Trade Days. I don't think he really works Bernie that much. And then a couple of random events that he works. And he had a 200K sales year. And it was all because Paul was just consistently week in and week out working events, doing service calls, doing follow-up, working the events, doing service calls, and then doing follow-up. And he just did that all year. And he had a 200K plus year, like 210 or 211 or something like that. And so here's what I would tell you guys is that if your goal, whatever your goals are this year, it's like 100K, 150, 200, I don't know what your goals are first, whatever that they are. I think you should take some value from that for sure, because it's true. Like it's not rocket scientist or rocket science. It's not rocket science. As long as you work consistently, you just steadily work on your averages, you're good to go. Unless I'm crazy, if you have anything to add to that.
No, I want to, so hopefully this is good stuff and give you guys a chance if you want to ask me a couple of questions.
Yeah, so let's first give them a round of applause for going through all that. So we're going to kind of bounce back and forth. So if you're on Zoom, and you have a question, click the little button that says raise hand, so we know to call on you here. We'll get to you guys in just a second. I think Spencer had his hand up here, so Spencer. Yeah.
So my first one is with like reps of our caliber, reps at your caliber, you know, Hall of Fame, 500 figures. How would a rep like us be able to influence rep like?
I think that the question is like what John King was saying the other night. It's just how can I help? What's an idea? What is there a way I could get involved and contribute? Is there anything I could do to help? Just a little basic thing. Every CSP in our division needs help with things like service calls and stuff like that. You can try to make a deal where you go and field train with them, and then if you can help them in some way, they might, you know. But we don't even want anything in return. Honestly, it's just more like I don't want to say being a pest, but like don't be afraid to ask 3 or 4 times if you're trying to get a hold of one of us. Like some people will hit me up one time. And I'm like, hey, I'm really busy. I mean, I travel all the time. I'm very limited on my time and availability, but I do want to help and get people. It's hard to get me locked down. So it's okay to call 3 or 4 times. I mean, how many times do you call a customer to do a demo? Don't be afraid to hit them up more than once. So that's just something. I would say that's the main thing. Don't be afraid to hit them up a couple times.
Real quick.
Yeah.
I'm so nervous every time I text you back. Like just picking up my phone and starting sweating.
What?
So,
Why? Don't. I promise I've never hurt anyone.
Yeah.
I've never hurt anyone. I've never destroyed anyone's career. If you are worried about your Cutco business, like you'll be hitting him happy, not me. Stacy or Dante are more powerful than me, honestly.
Yes.
Well, don't worry about it.
The Spencer, I'll applaud Spencer on this part. He went to field training with Josh pretty recently, about a week ago or so. He was riding the struggle bus at a few shifts and stuff, and texting me some talking about how much he sucks and everything. We've all had those weekends where we're like, well, I'm not to sell Cutco anymore. No one wants to buy it. Everything sucks. These people suck. My booth sucks. I suck. Everything sucks. And it's what's that? What's that?
At least I didn't know.
That's right. And so Spencer went to go field train. He reached out to Josh, found an opening, and was able to go out there and go field train with him at the wiener dog races. Got to watch magic happen. Sold like 11 grand over 2 days, which is pretty awesome. Also with Marco. Marco actually field trained on a Friday shift at the San Antonio Home and Garden Show at our booth. So it's me, Josh, Joseph, and Sean that were working. And I told Marco specifically, don't talk to me, talk to all 3 of those guys. And he just kind of like floated between them, and then he worked with Josh for a little bit, learned something. I think he gave you some pointers maybe on family program and stuff. And like that big order he got, I don't want to put words in his mouth. I'm sure part of it was influenced by what Josh taught him a little bit, exactly influence. There you go. But he had his big order. I mean, he could have just sold an ultimate set and maybe a flatware test with him to package him. It's like that's already a great order. But he was able to scale it to such a high level because she bought so many of those as gifts because he pitched her on it. And because of Josh's language that was used in verbiage, it made sense to her and she actually bought it. And she had the money to spend. She was a wealthy lady, obviously. But wealthy people don't just spend money just because most of the time. Like you have to sell them on it a little bit. And obviously he did a good job with that. What's up?
So again, plugging into field training with Sean, Josh, and everybody, and then having the brochures, it turned into an ultimate, into 4 ultimates by showing the family program, which turned into 8 ultimates by also showing the business gift program. She thought, 4 for business gifts, 4 for family, and then added on flatware with it just by tying in the family program, which is everything. I spoke with Josh for maybe like 30 minutes straight when there was like downtime about the family program, pitching those big orders, and like Sean was saying, like having the confidence to just ask for those big orders. And my kind of campaign changed after doing, because right after I field trained with that, I sold like 8 or 9K at the Temple Home and Garden Show like that weekend. And then ever since then, it's just been a complete shift in the campaign of just field training with these guys. It's insane.
So hopefully you guys are picking up the drift. Field training still works, guys. Well, I still go field training every year. I fly outside the division though, and I go watch people that sell more than me. And it's good to see people in other states sell Cutco because you pick up other things. Well, so we'll bounce back here in a second. Anyone on Zoom? Can't tell if there's hands up. Do we have any questions on Zoom at all? Going once, going twice. Okay, Spencer.
So I know it's a little different in your case, because I know that you work with Ashley a lot, because you're CEO of business.
She's
But I know that a lot of CSPs have assistants that help them out with like marketing and stuff like that. So how much of the marketing do you actually do? And like, what is your day-to-day look?
Marketing that I do. So most of the marketing stuff is planned. It's all part of the schedule that I have. So if you use Google Calendar, you can have like multiple schedules. For me, like I have 2 very large calendars, and one of the calendars is everything that is marketing. So it's all pre-scheduled. So like, when are we going to do the monthly content email? You know, I don't want that to run into a sale and then that gets watered down. So all the dates are set, and then most of my marketing is for events. So it's like, when the event is coming up, I have like things that need to happen before that event, and it's all scheduled. It's all put into a beautiful calendar system. And nowadays, and this is one of the ways like I get more time because I can focus on being more efficient in my business, like being in front of customers and just focusing on selling rather than sitting there like being on the computer working on stuff. Like I can focus on what I'm best at, which is making sales, or I can just not do any of that and I can like focus on being at home with my wife, you know. And the more of like that efficiency and planning, the better. So if you're new, I can give you like a super quick strategy if you want. It would be, they just ordered from you and you want to send them a thank you card. Okay? You're not so busy that you can't do thank you cards. I think Bailey has some deal now too. You know?
Handwritten.
So thank you card's pretty clutch. No one is ever expecting a thank you card. So like, you want to build a relationship or get loyalty, like that's immediately gonna like 50% better chance that you're gonna get a second order or they're gonna be loyal to you right off the bat. So what happens is they meet you at the booth, and then they get about a week later a thank you card, and then about a week after that they get the product in, and then after that it's usually right at the 1 month mark. If you are wondering what 20 calls to make, you can go to your Vector Connect and you can just change the date by 1 month and look at who did I sell Cutco to last month and call them and make sure that everything's good. Especially if it was a demo, you can go back, you can say, hey, did you get a chance to talk to XX and X? Get the referrals reviewed, right? Or get more referrals off of that. So a 1 month courtesy call is pretty clutch. And by the way, all that costs nothing. What I just said, like this is just you putting effort in. The thank you card costs like a little bit. And then the first thing I would look at is the monthly content email, but not overdoing it. That's pretty cheap and it's just a way to stay in front of your customers. So yeah. But yeah, thank you card plus courtesy call is like just more like you're going above and beyond. They were never expecting all this. Like you really stand out. They love you. They would only buy from you. Like after all that, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Rather than just sell and run, you know, they never hear from you again. You see the difference there? Like that shows that you actually care and the relationship is valuable, not just the sale. So see, it's deep, makes sense. Imagine that. All right, so anybody else? Come on. Nothing's out of bounds.
What do you do during?
I know like the relationship is everything. So have you had any instances where like a relationship turns sour with the customer? How do you kind of go like that?
I've had to fire some customers, yeah. So has Josh, so has everybody. I mean, it happens.
How do you handle that? Because it's happened to me a couple times where like just a messy situation and it's just awkward to handle with a customer. Like, can you give an example of something?
Well, I mean, I'll try to do everything you possibly can to like, make a situation right. But you're also, you know, if you're talking about a sour is weird. Like if you screwed something up, it needs to be fixed, then it needs to be fixed. But if somebody's being rude or disrespectful, well, then you know that's where the cutoff happens. Also, customer service is your best friend. Like you can still look great by connecting them to customer service, because Cutco customer service is awesome. They will do a phenomenal job. And so, like when I'm very busy and I don't have time for all these things, like something simple is just forwarding, you know, typing a nice email where I connect them to Cutco customer service. I do that all the time. Almost every day I do that with some situation. So I leverage the tools that I have, which is Cutco customer service. They're awesome. It's not like I'm sliding the customer, like me doing everything myself is a little too much, you know, then that'll burn me out. But yeah, involving Cutco's customer service when if a customer is being rude or the situation is just getting sticky and it's above like what you're comfortable handling, then go to the Cutco customer service. Also, like that's a great time to not bother Dante or Stacy or your manager. Like there's literally a whole customer service department, so that would be a good time to involve them. Does that make sense? Yeah, so I do that a lot, you know. Just on email. I don't like the idea of me texting the customer a 1-800 number. I don't think that's the best. But the email, I'll make sure the customer service is in there and the customer's name, and then I just will explain the situation and get everybody connected, and then it just magically works out. Like problem orders, like always get handled. I don't have to be bothering the customer going back and forth. Cutco will handle it, and they do like a really beautiful job. This is what they're trained to do. So use them sometimes, I would say.
Any other final thoughts, guys?
You had
What
a
do you-
question about it. What is it? KD?
I was gonna say, I feel like it'd be good to people know that your whole life isn't literally just selling Cutco.
Yeah, it's not.
Well, what do you do during the downtime between your events, between customers and all that?
I play a lot of Warzone. Call of Duty. Just want to know, like, I have a $3,000 laptop, right?
Yep.
And I take it with me everywhere I go, and I work for the hours I'm supposed to work, get the things I need to done, and then like I plug online with Dante and Bailey and our friends. Seth Kinzer is just as addicted to Call of Duty as I am. Think about how much he sells, right?
Whoa.
We're always online.
I've seen your playtime.
I had like a 30-minute break today, and I got on and played one game, and the whole time Seth is sending me invites. And it's Seth Kinzer. It's like we're friends, you know. I'll just give you a little example. I always have my laptop like at the booth with me, and it's a really nice computer. And I can point to that and tell customers, be like, I didn't need that laptop. My wife thought I was crazy, and I could have just gotten a regular Xbox, but I didn't. I got the absolute best, and it's awesome, and I use it every single day. And that's exactly what the ultimate set would be like. See, I just use it as a transition to help them see, like, hey, if you love to cook, if you watch cooking shows, if you watch the chefs on TV, if you're looking forward to the weekend because you're going to do some cooking, well, yeah, forget about need. Like, this set is it's awesome. You'll enjoy it. You'll love it. And like the laptop is an example. Like I can point to that and go, did I need this? Absolutely not. I use it every day. I love it. So I've added my expensive laptop to my sales pitch. And then I work with like Chelsea and Maria, and they'll have some bag that is just, there's no reason for it, and they'll tell the customer, and it's like, hey, it
All
makes sense.
to like fold up.
It makes sense. So yeah. So anything else, guys?
Anything else you guys like to know about
Anything
Sean?
salesy? Anything personal?
What's your goal for you?
We'll see, man. I don't know. Between 750, 750 for sure this year.
So I'm at that point where whenever I'm getting people gifts for like their birthday or something, I don't want to be the Cutco guy that gives everyone knives for like Christmas and everyone's birthday. Are you that guy, or how do you kind of separate that where it's like, oh, it's your aunt's anniversary, do you get her a knife, or like how do you handle
at Christmas? Like with my own family?
Yeah, stuff like that, like friends, family, coworkers.
I'm the Cutco guy.
My grandma.
I am the Cutco guy. Yeah, I got some family members that are on their third spreader, and no one's complaining. Yeah, you get the mall product, whatever's left over. You've been busy, you don't have time. Just put a bow on it. I don't know. We give Cutco mostly to everybody. So
We do have a question here.
Oh, we have a question.
all right.
Go for it, Hunter.
What has kept you in the business for 15 years?
What kept me in the business? Okay. Well, so I did leave Cutco once, and I came back with my hat in my hand. And one of the best things about Cutco is that your commission or the level you're at in the business never goes away. So what a beautiful thing. They don't have to do that. Like other companies don't do that. And so that's really cool. So I kind of had a little bit of a safety net where I could come back to the business. But honestly, there's different ways of selling, and I am to my core a relationship salesperson, if I'm only just in a transaction sale, like sell the thing, make the commission for the quick paycheck, there's a lot of other things in the world that you could sell. But this job, this opportunity allows me to basically become part of people's families sometimes. I get hugs, and just the relationships really matter, and they mean a lot to me. And anytime I'm down on the business, and like sometimes I get bogged down by like the politics of the business, and I'm not going to go into detail, but I'm not always like on the right side of every situation in the business, and trainings and meetings and things I have to do, and it drives me nuts. But whenever I'm down on the business, it is always my customers that get me back to where I need to be mentally, because I go work and some customer that I've had for 10 years comes up and they're so excited to see me and tell me what they need, or what the gift that they gave to somebody and how much it meant, and tell me their story about how much they love their Cutco or how they got something replaced and they just couldn't believe it. It's like, it's just never ending conviction, and it makes me feel really, really good about what I do, and it makes it that much easier to believe in the product. So really, truly, there's the vector side of it and all that, but then there's also all the thousands of relationships that I've built with my actual customers. And that means so much to me that there's no way I would give that up. So if you don't have that, or you're not building that, then that's something that you could work on now, starting now, and think about how much it can mean versus a quick sale. So, and also customers can see right through it. When you're being genuine, when you really do care, it's pretty obvious. I'm obsessed with the concept of trust, and like the speed of trust is really like when Dante says, how do you get through your demo so quick? And then like they love you and all that. It's like, I've been working for my whole career on that, on like, how can I be genuine and build trust? Because when you have high trust, the speed of business is so much faster and it costs less, and it's just, everything is better when you have trust. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I will just say this, that the number one thing you need to have trust in is in yourself first. So you believe in yourself that you're going to do the things that you say that you're going to do, and that, like, forgive me for saying this, but like, you believe your own bullshit. Okay. If what you're saying isn't true and you don't believe it, well, then what the hell? Like, how are you going to impress the customer, or impress that upon the customer? If you believe in yourself and what you're doing to the point that that is very easy to impose on the customer, they're going to love you and they're going to do business with you like that. Does that make sense? Okay, it's little things, and they're all over. Something as simple as having a name tag on. The business cards thing. How clean is the booth? And there's a ton of little ways that you can build trust, and then it's so much easier to do business. And then it looks easy from another rep the outside looking in, but it's like, hey, this is years worth of work to get to this point, to make it look easy. Does that make sense? Yeah, so if you have no idea what I'm talking about, since I'm really onto this concept, this is a big thing for me. There's a book called The Speed of Trust that I highly recommend. So yeah.
Cool. I think that's a good.
Is that good?
I think we're good on that part. So let's give Sean one more.
Tacos. Thanks for your time, guys. This is a privilege to be able to do this for you. So thank you.
Good. All right. We appreciate you, Sean, and Andy's getting everything together over there, guys. So hot dogs, chips, cheeseburgers, all that stuff is going to on the grill here in a hot second. And so while she's working on that, we're going to switch to our last part. There we go. Our last part here for today is we're going to review some stats, and then we're going to go right into shift picking right afterwards. Okay. So for you guys that are in Gulf Coast, since again the key events picking tomorrow, we're not doing shift picking with that stuff here tonight. But I'm going to follow up with you guys. I'll send a group text or post on group and tag you guys in it. We will get shift picking done later this week. Either be Wednesday or Thursday, most likely Thursday, but I'll make sure to get it with you guys and make sure to give you guys some time to put it in your schedule. Won't take long, probably take about maybe 30 minutes or so to knock it all out for the summer. But we'll do it at that time. So if you are in Gulf Coast, looks like D has a question. If you're in Gulf Coast,
You'll be able to leave. You can go ahead and leave at this point if you want to, because all of our content part is done, and we'll do schedule with you guys here later this week. Okay. So Nadia, did you have a question?
Yes, I do, and a potential follow-up. Thank you again for always a great meeting, super informative, love to learn, but remember to only take one thing before my brain explodes. I was gonna ask, for shift picking for Gulf Coast non-key events, are you trying to get us like all on one Zoom call, or is it you're just gonna call in order separate calls?
Yeah, so the goal is to get us all on one Zoom call, so we go through the rotation like normal, and we're gonna pick for the whole summer. So we're not doing 2 months at a time anymore, we're doing for the whole campaign. So key events will pick tomorrow, and they'll pick from May till August. And then once they're done, I'll send you guys a message, and we will get a time together where we can get to us. I think it's 1, 2, 3, like 4 of us is what it looks like. And so we'll find a time to get all 4 of us together, and then we'll go through and we'll pick the summer schedule of what's remaining from key events. Okay.
Okay. And then we'll review our stats at that time as well?
Correct. We'll review stats and everything too at that time, because standards and Gulf Coast are a little bit different than Lone Star right now. So I don't want to cause any confusion. We'll focus on one thing at a time.
Okay, no worries. Thank you so much. Bye, y'all.
All right. So Matthew, Nadia, Eduardo, Jerry, you guys are free to go at this point here, and then I'll follow up with you guys. We'll get a Zoom call together. Okay. Cool.
Sounds good.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you for everything.
For sure. Welcome to the team, Jerry. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So we're going to go ahead and switch gears to this officially. So if you guys would like to go ahead and pull this up, you'll see this on the team website if you like to follow along here. Just trying to get it to screen share on here a little bit earlier. So I'm going to try it one more time to see if it'll work here. There we go. I think it will work. Yeah. Okay. For you guys that are on Zoom, you can pull it up on the team website. We'll have that there. Let's see if this works. I'm obsessed with my iPad now, by the way.
Good.
Yeah. Okay, see if this all works out. Okay. Look at that. Technology. All right, cool. See if I turn it sideways, does that change it? Oh, look at that. All right, guys, so I want to review a couple things with you guys here. Real quick, going through stats now. I hope you guys, I know I emphasize this a lot, but I want to make sure everyone fully grasps the reason why it's important to stay up on your stats. Whether your stats are great, whether they're not great, whether you're excited about them and you're blowing through your goals or you're falling like behind your goals, doesn't matter. The important part is, especially when you might be behind or maybe not at the level you were hoping to be at that point, it's even all the more important reason to make sure you keep your numbers in front of yourself. So here's my main thing. You guys know this, but I'll keep beating the drum forever, is that I'm less concerned about the talent and like all the Cutco that they sell over a period of time. If they're a high level salesperson, but they're a pain in the ass to work with, I don't want them on our team. But I will always work with the people that are going to show up consistently and do all the things that I ask them, right? And so something I want to make sure you guys know as we go into these stats, as we go through this, like I don't want you guys to take any shame in any numbers. All right, I know some of you guys are really proud of them. Some of you guys may not be as excited about it right now, but it's okay. Spring is over. Summer is here. I wish I could have said winter is coming. That's my feeling. So by the way, have you guys ever seen a South Park episode about? Just saying, South Park makes a great episode about Black Friday weekend that includes Game of Thrones, and it's awesome. Oh yeah. Because I feel like you guys can relate to us really heavy working malls because it's all about Black Friday weekend, and all the White Walkers are all the customers waiting outside the mall for Black Friday, and all the security guards are like the people that are protecting the mall and everything. It's pretty crazy. You should watch this sometime. It's pretty badass. So, anyways, point being, off topic there. So, with that being said, I want to make sure that we can dive into our numbers here real quick. So, for the summer campaign, we have 2 people that sold at least 20 grand this last spring, and it was Marco and Nicole. So let's start off the back, give them a round of applause. I will say out of those, out of our people at this meeting right now, Marco, I know Marco had a pretty good order, but even before that, he was already over 20 grand for the campaign and everything. And I believe, how much did you sell in April when it's all said down, like 40?
Yeah, a little over 40.
A little over 40. And so the standards for being on key events is you got to sell 50 grand over the 4-month cycle. And our cycle for key events that we're in right now is from April to SC2. That's like it's like 4 months in a week basically. But got to sell 50 grand. So Marco is well above track to be able to do that. Only about 10 grand away or so. So it looks like Marco's going to be our next key events person as of this moment. So let's give him a round of applause. That was right after he had the burning in his heart of missing it this last go around. And I'm sure he will hit it here pretty soon. Let's just say this, if Marco doesn't hit it this summer, we're all gonna throw bricks at him, right, that's what I'm saying. So, but with that being said, as we go through this, Spencer over 10 grand, Brett about 17 grand, almost at that 20 grand number. And I know with some of the other guys here, like, I know school is a real thing, it keeps your schedule busy, and I don't want you guys to be tough on yourself just because you're working hard in school, right? I don't know if you guys know this, Caitlin Solomon is kind of a badass, and so is Hunter McKay, and some of these people, and they're in their both in their senior years, I believe, of school, and that can take up some time. So I want to make sure Caitlin and Hunter both know that we still love them today. Okay, even if you don't have the greatest campaign, we still love having you on the team as well too. So with that being said, guys, which reminds me, I have the honorary torching I want to do in front of you guys here right now. New kid, missed his first 2 team meetings. So do you know what we do to that?
We delete
Cut.
What?
Breaks hearts. Unfortunately, to piggyback on what I said a minute ago, I love working with people, but if they don't show up to the meetings, that is what will happen to them. All right, it is what it is. Okay, so Shabam, I'll follow up with Shabam because I think he was at the last one, but I'll follow up with him about that.
If he didn't let you know, he did let me know.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, he did not let me know.
Okay.
School?
Yeah.
Nothing?
Yeah.
I'll follow up with him about that. Ignacio was just a no-show.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, guys, I want to make sure, and we got these updated. All right, cool. All right, guys, so as we go through this, there's the, for you guys, this is great news because I know a couple of you guys are on varsity, a couple of you guys are on JV. But for you guys, for your own personal benefit, because this is the smallest time of the year we have the smallest team, obviously opportunity is much higher to sell more Cutco when it comes to shift picking. What's up, Spencer?
When did the averages reset?
So for you guys, for varsity and JV, it's every meeting. And then our key events one updates every key events meeting. So that the key events, if you're asking about that, the key events tier updated at our last meeting, which was about a month ago. Well, too. And then for you guys, this is our current up-to-date numbers from Cutco. So speaking of which, it looks like Marco has a $1,400 shift average, so that's pretty exciting. Nicole is at $970. We have Shabam worked 1 shift, but sold $1,900 on his 1 shift. So for those people, you guys are at or like over $1,000 shift average. Now, for you guys that are looking at your averages, and you're not at 1,000 right now for the campaign. Beautiful thing is everyone starts back at 0 again. So if you look at your averages, and you look at your sales and everything, you're like, wow, I'm going to use this as an example. So if I look at Spencer Campbell, and I go, and by the way, Spencer is a trooper. He worked like 18 plus days at like the show we definitely probably shouldn't have been at this year. I don't know why they did what they did at their show, but they did. We all know Spencer's better than a $300 shift average. Sometimes it's, an anomaly kicks in there every once in a while. But here's what I want to highlight about Spencer. So I love Spencer to death, but I'm going to brag on Spencer here for a hot second. I'm seeing $10,772 sold for the campaign, and apparently 9,000 of that is sold at the booth. Does anyone see a red flag with that? Where's the red flag on selling 10 grand at the booth and 9 grand 10 grand in total, but 9 grand at the booth? Does anyone notice anything wrong with that? 90% of his business as of this spring was at the booth. Only about $1,000 plus was sold outside the booth for 4 months. An easy way for Spencer to not miss varsity? Do appointments. 20 calls a day, do your appointments, do whatever. At all. Look at Brett Fordyce. Brett Fordyce is a worker for 25 shifts. I know the shift average could have been better. Had some tough shifts in there, but you have to solve those. 25 shifts, so about $17,642. But 15,000 looks like was directly from the booth. Now I know some of you guys might be like, maybe I didn't process those couple of orders correctly or something like that. But even so, 17.6, so about $2,300 was sold outside the booth. Does anyone see a red flag there? So here's what I would tell you guys, is that whenever you're working, if you're like, dang, I'm doing service calls, not like I'm not doing them. If the results aren't there, then what's the way to fix that? You don't have to field train just at a booth, guys. You can field train on service calls too. Pato does a lot of service calls still. Paul does a lot of service calls still. You can go field train with those people and go watch them for 2 full days. Watch them do 10 service calls. You'll learn a ton, right? I would offer myself, I just don't do service calls as often as I used to. The schedule's changed. So I just want to make sure to point that out to you guys, being like, hey, I'm so proud that you guys work a lot of shifts. And one of the things that this team's great for is working, right? And Nicole, looks like I see her hand is up.
I was just gonna say, if anybody wants to come field train with me, like you're more than welcome to as well, because I have a very high average order on service calls. I mean, I've only been watching it the past 8 months, and it's $979, and that's just on service calls. So if anybody wants to come, they're more than welcome to.
Sounds good. And by the way, with Nicole too, she sold 24 grand. 24 grand so far this campaign as well. Now I know I see 21 of it being at the booth. So here's something I would tell you guys is that whenever you guys are working, what's that? Keep him out for now because he likes people too much. Outside. So if you guys can do me a favor, just so we can track the stats more accurately, where your business is coming from, make sure when you process your orders at your events, make sure if it's directly sold at the booth that you mark it at the booth. If it's a service call or a follow-up, like a phone call or something like that or whatever, make sure to process it correctly because it gives you booth sale, it gives you event service call, and then like something else. Please make sure to remember, don't just throw it all into the booth. Make sure to distinguish it as well. I know like it can be tempting because you put it under the booth, it helps your averages and stuff like that, makes it look better on paper. But if you want to get your real averages, you need to process it correctly. All right. So it's okay if you sold 10 grand at the booth and 10 grand on service calls, you sold 20 grand. Like, that's okay. Like, that's fine. It shows that you're working outside of the booth. All right. So
one other thing to note is, I don't know if you guys need to write up RR to submit that through the ROR form, because Andrew, you were actually the only one who submitted your RR order, so that way it scores your shift average.
Andrew's my new favorite person.
Scroll down a little bit. Is that why the number on the right is higher than the number on the left?
Where for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That is why.
Probably so, yeah.
So basically what that means, guys, is that you'll notice the little inverted thing right here where it's like, wait, he sold more at the booth than he sold in the campaign. Well, it's because Andrew has written up a good amount of ROR and he's reporting it. So I'm just gonna let you guys know. I know a lot of you guys are, we'll see our customers start smarter. Again, help your averages, help us get real data for yourself, and make sure when you send the order, click the CPO directly on the form. It takes maybe 15 seconds to do it. So you get credit for your averages and stuff like that. Okay. So with that being said, oh, and by the way, let's give Andrew a round of applause for because I had him in the summer manager category. Andrew's running a branch office this summer, but he chose to still be here throughout the summer and work everything too. So let's give Andrew a round of applause. He's at $13,000 he sold. And that's while training fund. So props to him. So with that being said, guys, let's go ahead and go through our rankings here. And so with our rankings, so as you guys know, we do varsity and then we do JV. So varsity is going to be pretty straightforward. We're going to have Marco, and then Nicole, and it's just going to be y'all two for right now. So Marco will start us, and then Nicole you'll pick, and then Marco will pick, and so on and so forth. And then once they're done, we'll go to JV, and you guys will go into a rotation, just so you guys know the drill. I don't need to explain it to you guys. And so while that's being said, let's go ahead and do this. Andrew, we have like snacks and stuff out, right? Sorry. We have snacks and stuff out, right?
Yeah, there's chips and cake, so.
Okay. So we're gonna do this. So varsity, so Marco and Nicole.